Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to the party and welcome to our Sunday one-shot series known as Vibrant, Visible, and Victorious. Thank you everyone in chat who is being so positive. Thank you to our wonderful players who are going to introduce in just a moment. And welcome to the show. We, for this one-shot series and on this particular Sunday, are going to be playing in D&D 5th edition. And we're going to be running a little bit of a fun one-shot that was actually originally designed by my partner. Shout out to wonderful Naomi Bosch at Donarama on Twitter. Follow them. They also do little cute, amazing, wonderful, detailed, just brilliant RPG design, tabletop role-playing game design themselves. This one-shot design is basically their work that they have allowed me to make use of and tweak to fit sort of my own purposes. So thank you to them for that. And before we get into the full swing of introducing all of our lovely cast, wonderful, fantastic members who are part of our community, we have to do the usual basic things of thanking the wonderful sponsors who have allowed this channel to run and flourish in the fantastic ways that it is currently flourishing. So, on that note, let's start with Tabletop Loot. Find dice for all your gaming needs. If you're like me, you're always in need of good dice. Despite the fact that I don't have a lot of money, I still have wonderful dice. Do you need more fantastic dice? Go to Tabletop Loot. Find dice for all your gaming needs. Secondly, I want to thank wonderful sponsor Devin Rue, Mistress of Maps, Mapstress, an amazing community supporter. Thank you so much for your presence in chat, in sponsoring us, supporting us. We love you so much. And of course, to our final sponsor, So Nerdwear. So Nerdwear. It's what the nerds wear. Type !merch in chat and let people know So Nerdwear is the place where you can get awesome WTTP merch at a discount. Use code WELCOME, all caps, to get 10% off your next purchase. In addition to that, for everyone who is involved, please take some time to look over at our Patreon. Type !Patreon in chat. Our Patreon not only goes to support this channel, but as it grows, will act as an incubator, providing funds for amazing artists, writers, and more in the RPG community. So if you want awesome benefits while supporting some amazing makers and shows like 3V, that is this show you are watching right now, of a vibrant, wonderful, diverse community who is visible out here and proud, and of course, will be victorious in spreading our influence throughout all the tabletop role-playing game scene. Join us on Patreon, support us. It's the best way to keep this channel going and spread our wonderful 3V community to all out and everyone. And as always, if you are interested in joining our wonderful community, join our Discord. If you want to join the party, type !Discord, all lowercase, in chat. And so, with all of that out of the way, why don't we take a little bit of time before we get into this one shot to introduce our wonderful players. So why don't we start with our wonderful, Michi, you're so fine, you blow our mind. Michi.
Hello, I am Michi.
Had to.
I am at Michisaurus on Twitter, and tonight I am going to be playing Bliss, who is a tiefling cleric.
Thank you so much, Bliss, for your presence here. Your presence, I'm sure, will be wildly and fantastic in the game as well. Why don't we try our delightful, let's give it over to Lily.
Hi, I am Lily, and I will be playing Perry, who is a Water Genasi druid.
Delightful. And on that note, we're going to be moving on over to Rochelle.
Hi, I'm Rochelle. I am playing Elacor, which is Rochelle backwards. I'll be playing a half-elf battle master. I'm at the Dragon Gem on Twitter, and I play MTG Arena here on Twitch, just Dragon Gem.
Wonderful. Last, but certainly not least, Miriam.
Hi, I am Miriam, and I am playing a half-elf bard named Laziz Bakwan, which translates as tasty food. So I am tasty.
Miriam is tasty.
Cat butt. Now cat's gone.
And cat butt. Cat will return in due time, as cats are known to inhabit the world. They are the patrons of all people on the earth. But last but not least, actually, for the other people involved in this is myself. I am Angela. I am Phoenix24Fem at Twitter, Philosophem on Patreon, and general tabletop role-playing game enthusiast started out in D&D, and I'm here to help run this fantastic little game for everybody. I hope everyone will be forgiving if there's little moments of mistakes and such. I love running this game. I've been running campaign for a little bit, but everyone makes mistakes, and hopefully we can be understanding with mine as well. But with that out of the way, we can get this game started. Is everybody prepared? Is everyone ready?
Ready.
Are we excited?
Excited.
Is the hype real? Is the hype real?
Hype is so real.
The hype is real.
Very
Hype
cool.
is so real. So we are going to start off just painting a little bit of an image for where everyone currently is starting at. You all have been, let's say, if not the closest of friends, a functional working group of adventurers traveling out along the land, caring about shenanigans, doing jobs, things of that sort. And you find yourself in a humble, mostly almost farming town known as Brookhaven, named as such for this quaint sort of river that goes sort of straight through the middle of town. A lot of the farms are blessed with plentiful crops near the end of the harvest, and with the time being what it is, you are nearing the beginning months of winter. But as the harvest comes to an end and the winter season begins to kick in, we have to celebrate a bountiful harvest that has happened. And so you find yourselves entering this town on a most festive of occasions. You hear trumpets playing off in the distance. You hear lutes and bards off carrying about in the streets. You see small children waving flags of various colors. You see people of all various races and gnomes selling magical tinkering items. You see various half-elves and elves singing songs of almost angelic tones to them. You see orcs playing on drums and things of this sort. It's a festive occasion all around. And you all find your attention grabbed most strongly by a group of people crowded together in front of one, we'll describe him as very gloriously dressed man. Very magnificent gold sort of lettering all around these purple and sort of magenta toned robes that one might best describe as a wizard's tracksuit, if we have to give it a description. But it is a man of great and obviously very well-designed taste, calling out to the crowd. Why, hello there, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this festival. My name is Thaddeus, and it's fantastic to have all of you here as part of the Harvest Close Festival. Bountiful crops have come in. We've had fabulous sales with everybody, and we're going to finish this all off with our annual Harvest Close Festival. For all people who would love to participate, a royal title will be gained, fantastic monetary rewards, and spoils beyond your imaginations. And there's a bit of a crowning little piece de resistance, whatever that term means. Unsure of the language, might be Elven. You will get a meeting with the wonderful hosts of our Harvest Close Festival themselves, and he sort of gestures off into the distance to two fabulously dressed individuals. You can't quite make them out, but perhaps one of you with your keen eyes could see it. I'd like everyone to roll a perception check for me to see if you can spot the two wonderful hosts of this festival. All right, Lizzie's, we have that. Many of you are able to see rough sense, both one appears to be of a bit of a masculine kind of build, a shock of white hair, and a nice set of almost circular glasses that have a tiny little set of glasses of smaller lenses on the side of them. Appears to be wearing a nice blue royal robe with a nice jacket, and appears to be wielding a rather strange long-barreled object on his back. And the other appears to be a woman of half-elven descent. Black and furred leathers lining along the trims of her long robes, a very almost winking, flirtatious sort of smile upon her face, looking upon the crowd. Thaddeus returns to speaking. And so for all of you who would join our festival, take note, this is one where We judge you not by nature of simply the merit of your combat, or simply the nature of your words. We judge you by how well you can cook. But not only how well you can cook, how well you can get your ingredients to cook as well. So, who would dare to enter our delightful festival and join? Ah, I see. There is one over there. Come now, dear, my dear fellow. Describe yourself.
Laziz.
And wonderful. And Laziz, if you could take a moment to just describe yourself, just basic description of what you look like and such, so that audience and such can have a sense of what you look like.
So I have burn marks all over me, like sort of on my, like scorch marks on my clothes, and it's basically eyesore colors, almost Harlequin sort of colors, and clearly lived in. And I'm carrying with me all my gear, but specifically a really fancy pot, like sort of the Le Creuset of pots and cooking utensils. And I was like, I would like to participate, please.
The person who's already become well prepared. Unfortunately, we won't let you get those cooking utensils in right away, but I love your spirit. Love your clothing. Look fabulous. And the rest of you, and sort of Thaddeus gestures to all of you. He seems to have a sort of a very inviting and warm presence, and there's a very big sense. This is a person who has almost a very peacock kind of personality, just very proud and puffed up and just very open and gracious. And there's an element of almost magical charm, but his charisma just feels so high that he invites you in without even trying. And the three of you next to Laziz, who are the three of you? And in whatever order the three of you would like to describe yourselves, describe your characters, just general descriptions, however you would like to have them described as.
Perry will go.
Okay, Perry, describe yourself.
So Perry is about 5'11", and she's going by she today, but she uses all pronouns, she, he, or they. And she has just like a kitty little bob, like wavy locks, and it's like a sea foam at the roots, and then it's turquoise, and then it fades into like a cerulean, and then at the part that kind of frames her face is white. So that's what her hair looks like, and then yes, she has brown skin, and then she has an interesting fashion set. She dresses kind of like an extra from Miami Vice, with all the colors that entails. Although mostly they tend to be like greens and blues. And then she has like a huge like golden coin on a chain around her neck, because she leaves her shirt kind of half unbuttoned, so you can see this huge coin like resting on her chest on this chain.
Before the next person begins talking, you see Thaddeus sort of slightly open the robe and is like, I see someone after my own taste in clothing as well. And you see a similarly large 5-color patterned in all the colors of the currency of bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and electrum coin sitting just below, right around his chest, wrapped around in a golden chain. Mm-hmm. And so it just does like finger guns in your direction. It's like,
and like Perry like nods her head and like winks.
So either Elcor or Bliss, whichever one of you would like to go next to describe yourself.
So Bliss she's dressed in just very typical cleric robes. She has her mace in one hand because she doesn't go anywhere without that. And she's a tiefling, but she is bright, obnoxiously pink. And she's also very exuberant, like bouncing on her heel, on the balls of her feet. hooves, whichever.
Ah, I see. I think I knew a tiefling of a rather trickster variety, similar person of the cloth, some distant years ago when I was a much younger man. Still fabulous, but much younger man. And our final character.
So Elacor is petite, but you can tell by the steely glare she gives everything that she's seen some stuff. She very much looks like a monster hunter, very Van Helsing, dressed all in black, even has the hat. But yeah, you wouldn't necessarily think she would hang around with these folks because they're all so flamboyant, but she's there and she's got their backs.
Ah, I see. A woman after my own heart. Probably had someone take my own heart who looks very much like you. Anyways, delightful to have you here. Would you care to join in our wonderful competition? The rules are very simple. We'll transport you to a few different locations, make it to the mountain, and along the way, obtain whatever supplies you need to cook whatever sort of dish you imagine you can from the ingredients you have. Go through each of those locations, hunt, scavenge, gather, get them all, survive. Minor detail, survive. We have lost. He takes a moment to, he summons a mage hand to start counting an additional set of times. And it's like,
Can I add a mage hand to that as well,
thank you.
just to help?
Oh, that was exactly the amount I needed. It's 20 people before. Thankfully, we've adjusted the rules a little bit, and remembered that not everybody has resurrection on hand. Probably should have remembered that the first time we did this. Anyways, we have precautions that the Lord and Lady of the festival themselves will step in should anything drastic, life-endangering or anything of that sort come up, but nothing of that sort is going to be a problem, I'm certain. You all seem capable. Don't die, please. It's been a bit of a bad record last year. Lost 7. It was not my fault. It is never my fault. But yes, care to join? The festival starts very soon. Wonderful prizes await you all.
I go sign up.
Yep.
We all follow her.
There's like just Laziz is already there. They're already like.
I've already left.
Bliss is like right behind, just bouncing.
I'm just imagining it as like Elacor is just sort of like, oh, well, I guess we're doing this. Wonderful. So you carry on and you reach sort of more the front portion of the crowd, and you see 2 other sets of contestants have joined with their own separate teams. One appears to be a married couple, a very sort of old, almost frost-tailed kind of tabaxi woman. She seems like she's carrying a quarterstaff, like a lot of her fur that used to have sort of a vibrant blue and white to it is sort of starting to get almost slightly grayed tones to it, and just slightly older tabaxi kind of cat. She's just sort of walking around using her stick to help get her along a little bit, but she still seems pretty spry. And she seems like she's having a very slight argument with her wife, who is about a foot taller than her, green-scaled dragonborn, who is just sort of like, oh, honey, I don't know if maybe this should be the last one we do. It's like, oh, hush, Farida, it's going to be fine. Like, we've managed this before. It's like, but we haven't won before. We haven't won in 7 years. And it's like, well, maybe this one will be the year. We'll do this. And there's sort of a harumph expression between the two, but you can tell it's said with love. And then what appears to be another team that seems to be comprised of only one individual. What appears to be, for the most part, it looks like a very tall kobold, maybe a very short dragonborn, wearing a very large cloak. It appears kind of lumpy in certain places and moves in very odd motions at times. Like the full body doesn't seem to move in all at once, but
Can I make out whether there's one individual under that cloak?
roll me an insight check.
Sure.
You're pretty certain that's not one person. You don't know how many quite are in that cloak, but there appears to be more than one person there. But none of the judges seem to notice, as Thaddeus very quickly says, all right, so we're going to transport you all to the first location. Make it through that. Then the other ones that follow through it, make it to the mountain. Try not to die to the last thing. We've had a lot of people die to the last one. Don't try and fight it if you can. It will kill you. I knew there was something I'm supposed to tell you all. Oh, right. Once again, don't fight it. It will kill you. Was I forgetting anything else? Oh, yes. Don't fight it. It will kill you. I don't know why they told me to say this 3 times, but apparently they wanted me to. Anyways, we'll be transported over there.
What will kill us?
Oh, you'll know. You'll see it. Anyways, claps his hands, and in a very burst of almost electrical blue and purple magic, swirls around all of you, and you find yourselves having an almost portkey-like effect of right around the back of imagine where the backside of your jeans would be. You feel almost like a hook, like the hook dragging someone off stage effect of just being lifted up and being suddenly transported and landing sort of like face first into what appears to be the edges of forest.
Let's not do that again.
No.
I can promise you it will happen again. You hear a very faint...
Herbs. We need aromatics. We need to make sure it smells delicious.
But also make sure they're not poisoned.
Right,
All right.
But specifically aromatic.
All right, so...
And I just walk off and start looking for, basil and aromatic herbs.
Okay, so for this first area, what you find yourselves in is essentially the outskirts of a very vast, beautiful forest. Like, imagine everything that you would associate with the term fae is just sprinkled everywhere here. There's just tall, nice arch-long trees wrapped around with vines. There's various little bits of fungi of blues, greens, blacks, and even yellows and reds scattered all about. There's little, what appears to be almost like rock formations that have carvings of faces on the outside. And for anyone who is trying to get a view of the area, roll me a perception check. However, if you are Laziz and anyone else who's interested in trying to find ingredients first, roll me either a survival or a nature check. Wow. Okay. No, Elicor, that I'm going to keep the 20 because that was amazing. So, with those rolls and sort of give you all a sense of what has happened for this first location, you find you are able to see, and for those of you, for everyone on roll 20, are you able to see the map area right now? Because I'm revealing a little bit more of this map.
Yes.
Clear to everyone what you're able to see. Okay, so because of how well you rolled, you are able to see out in the distance 3 individuals, as well as a little bit farther off in the distance, about a, let's say, roughly 10-foot tall set of sort of circular kind of logs, just all arranged in a fence-like pattern, all around the northern section of this forest. And the northernmost exit to this forest appears to have this beautiful naturalistic put together almost like arch of yellows and greens and vines wrapping around tree branches that make this beautiful arch that seems to reflect the light in vibrant patterns. You are also able to see scattered about some of the area are some bags that appear to be filled with various spices and ingredients. Now, Laziz and Perry, you also contrast to the rest of the group that is, they're trying to look at everything. They're not paying attention to the full picture and the most important things of finding ingredients around here. You find a variety of sort of red and sort of black inked mushrooms scattered about the area. They look quite delicious. And you also see tiny little bits of bags that have a couple of small bits of what looks like basil in them.
Aziz, beware, we are not alone.
I imagine this might be some Hunger Games style sort of a thing going on, so I quickly grab stuff and start stuffing it in a pot.
Yep.
Is that the thing we're not supposed to fight?
So, to indicate
the
what...
herbs?
No, that just points off.
So, Bliss, with your and Elacora's amazing perception roll right off the gate, Jesus, that was so good. You were able to see 3 individuals near this beautiful archway of trees and vines. 2 that appear to be almost feminine sort of forms with a wreath, a crown of leaves wrapped around their heads, and it's almost like imagine like kind of like a toga sort of wear, but imagine if that was entirely created from wildflowers, sunflowers, and leaves and vines wrapped around together and threaded sort of like hand woven through naturalistic means. With one much bulkier individual between the 2 of them that appears to be, imagine if an Ent from Lord of the Rings started working out at the gym and just getting very swole. It's a very big, almost living tree.
Definitely think that's the thing we're not supposed to fight.
And so... And so you are able... They also notice you, and the two figures on this side, both of the feminine sort of toga, naturalistic druid toga wearing individuals sort of gesture towards the group, and you're able to see off in the distance as well, the entire group. This is just with passive perception. You're able to see the cloaked individual appears to also be gathering up some of the same mushrooms and such that Laziz has already picked up, and the married couple appears to have already gathered what looks like a bag of a lot of spices, and it looks like some nice mushrooms, some sage and rosemary from a little patch that was tucked away on the side of the forest. But these 3 individuals just seem to be going and making this gesture towards all of you.
Can I go up to the married couple and say, "Oh, I see you have grabbed some pretty good spices," and then I suggest that we trade bags.
Okay. What? Yes, I'm gonna take a guess and say you're casting suggestion. Let me just roll up their saves for these. Nope. And yes. Okay. So what is the spell save DC? So you're casting suggestions, so click for your page, on your spell page, click suggestions so I can see what the spell save, and if it's just roll 20 is acting up, just tell me what your spell save DC is. Okie doke.
Specify. So that my spell save is 15.
15. Okay. So you see the Dragonborn very quickly, because she rolled a critical fail, immediately start trying to hand you over the bags, but the Tabaxi just looks at you and is like, "No, I'm not going to give. We're trying to win this competition the way that you are. Farida, why are you trying to give them our stuff?" And the Dragonborn just responds, "Nola, just let them have the things. They're going to do well with it. It's going to be fine." She starts, Nola, the Tabaxi, appears to start baring her claws and wanting to be like, but she's trying to pull the bag back, but away from you.
I'm going to try to take the bag and then run back to the party if the party already isn't with me.
I don't know. What is the rest of the party doing during this moment?
I would have followed Laziz because I don't trust her not to get herself in trouble.
This may prove to be a very good decision.
I would have wandered up closer, but probably not gone all the way up to the people.
Yeah, that's probably what I would have done too. Because they're pretty and also scary.
They're pretty and scary. This is my aesthetic that I strive for.
Right.
But So let's see. In that case, I'm going to have Laziz roll me an athletics check. Because you were trying to pull a bag away from a very angry tabaxi.
Don't mess with tabaxis. Okay, so that is my athletics.
Unfortunately, the tabaxi rolled a 16. So the tabaxi pulls the claws back, and as she's doing so, manages to slightly scratch you. You don't take any damage, but it hurts enough where like you feel your grip slip on the bag of spices, and unfortunately, they get it back. But you still have the mushrooms that you gathered earlier.
Yep.
And
and I say, well, I thought we were being all friendly and sharing stuff, but I guess if that's how you want to play it, and I sort of back away.
You see the tabaxi giving you like one of these there, because when suggestion fails, they know that you tried to cast the spell. So she's like giving you the look like, I know what you've done.
Well, suggestion was on the person holding the bag, so
was it only on?
It's
only on her.
It's only on one person.
That was my mistake.
Yeah.
However, okay. In that case, she does seem okay. In that case, I will. What was it? Retcon that back. She rolled high enough insight to know that you seem to have done something to her wife. So she's no longer mad at her wife, but she's still looking at you like, I'm watching you. So we'll say the takeaway from that is you do manage to get the bag. You don't get the bag, and the tabaxi doesn't know exactly what happened, but she doesn't look very trusting at you. She's like watching you like, I know what you did. I know you did something.
Ooh, me?
See her fur as like kind of faded and somewhat patchy as it is in some spots, beginning to stand up, slightly alarmed.
I grab Laziz. Let's go over here. I saw more bags this way.
Okay, Elikor. And I go along with Elikor.
Okay. Which direction do you head? Do you still want to try and find anything around the area? Because as far as you don't know if there's any more bags of spices or ingredients available. But there are also the dryads that they're just, the wood creatures who are looking at you and just sort of just continuing to do this expression in your direction.
Go ask them. They look really friendly.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're very pretty.
Why, thank you.
Oh.
As you turn around, one of the dryads...
the competition.
As you turn around, Bliss, one of the dryads has moved a little bit closer. Like, why, hello.
Hi.
You're very sweet.
Thank you. I try.
I love pink. It's my favorite color. What brings you to the forest? Are you looking for ingredients for the competition?
We are.
Oh, well, you're so sweet. Would you care for any of this? And she holds out what appears to be almost like a druid-crafted mini little... imagine a druid-crafted mason jar, except prettier and made of just like vines and leaves and wildflowers. Here is sap from the local trees. It might prove quite sweet, so if you're looking for that for your dishes, this might be helpful.
Oh, well, thank you.
If you talk to Argus, you might be able to convince him to give you some wood to cook with, and some other spices as well.
Oh.
And she gestures towards the very menacing and very beefy-looking tree creature that's between her and the other dryad.
Well, they said not to fight the thing. They didn't say not to talk to the thing.
That's correct. You hear Thaddeus's voice in your ear randomly, and then it just echoes again.
And who's the other dryad?
Oh, well, I'm just over here. I know where some of the other things are. If you're nice enough to me, maybe I'll give you a sense of what's still around here.
Sure. I don't see how we haven't been nice from the beginning.
You make a lot of sense. There's a spot, and there's a spot. She just points to 3 different locations across the sections of the map. But as she does so, you also hear a voice cry out, Now, remember, everyone, I did actually forget something to tell everyone. You are on a time limit. We need you to get everything back by sundown, or you will be automatically disqualified. So try not to dilly-daddle. Whatever the word is. I forget. Words are hard. Not relevant to me. I'm Thaddeus. Anyways, try not to dawdle. Hurry up with your things, otherwise you won't even have time to cook.
How much time do we have at the current time that we're at?
Yeah, you can look up and you can see the sun. It's pretty like high at its highest point in the sky. So maybe I'd say roll me just general intelligence check, just general.
That's a 7 for me.
It's very bright. It's very pretty. Also, for anyone watching this, the map might go out momentarily for a second. I'm having to reconnect to Roll20 because it's being a little bit spotty right now. Oh, Lord. It will be back momentarily. But, Laziz, as far as you know, it's a time. It's bright.
Yeah. Can I spend 11 minutes ritual casting Unseen Servant?
Yes, you can.
Okay. So we have extra hands.
While Laziz is doing that, I go over to talk to the swole tree.
The swole tree.
The swole tree.
Yes. Thank you for bearing with this chat. Roll20 is being a little bit fussy with our maps right now. It will be back on momentarily. But, so you go over to talk to the swole tree?
Yes.
All right, as you do, the tree just moves with a very slow disposition. Just very casually walking over to you. Just staring in your direction. Hello there, traveler. What brings you here?
Well, that dryad over there says that you might be willing to share some wood and spices with us.
I could be convinced to part with some things. What do you offer?
What would you like?
Can you give me something pretty? I like pretty things.
Well, I have this mirror, and you're pretty. You could look at yourself in it.
Nice.
Roll me a persuasion check at advantage for that one, because that was very good. And Roll20 is just being a fussy right now. So just tell me the result if you're able to see it. Or is it not going on right now?
Oh.
Ooh.
Oh dear. My Roll20 is acting up again. Oh dear. I'm also not being able to see the chat. This is unfortunate. Apologies to everyone. This will be just a moment while I get my things fixed on my end. Can everyone still hear and see me right now?
Yes.
Okay, just double checking. It's just Roll20. Roll20 does this every now and then. It's fun until it is not.
So it was a 21 and a 19.
Okay, so you're going to take the 21 in that case?
Yes.
Because you were rolling at advantage. Yay, Roll20 is back and functioning. So in that case, he looks at you and you see almost the tiniest of little, almost sapling little teardrops fall from his eyes.
Aww.
Like, that's the nicest thing someone has said to me in 300 years. He sort of pulls off, you hadn't realized this at first, but he had almost sort of a crown, almost like set of like horns off the top of his head. He sort of just breaks them off, and then as they're broken off, they just reform very quickly and automatically. He's like, here you go. You can use these to help start a fire. It's sort of a nice kind of mesquite kind of taste, depending on what you're trying to make.
Oh,
No.
Thank you. Can I give you a hug?
Yup.
I go up and hug him.
he goes and he gives you a hug. It's very comforting, but also slightly uncomfortable because he does have like little like
Right.
his texture is very rough. It's bark skin basically. So, but it's a very sweet hug, and he sort of moves out of the way, and he's like, "Carry on, sweet friend."
And I make sure to give him the mirror.
It's just just imagine like at the pace of like a sloth's expression changing into like a big barky, like imagine teeth just made of like little bits of wood and bark. Smile, and he just walks away, and the two other nature-based sort of feminine forms just look at you, and they're just like very sweet, and they pull out another little bag of spices and they hand it to you.
Great.
So for being very nice to them and doing that, you have also contained a bag that has additional bit of rosemary, sage, oil, garlic, salt, and pepper, and some rice and a few bits of spices. And in total, you also have those mushrooms that Lizzie's picked, and Perry was also able to find as well.
And I give it all to Aziz and like, here.
Oh, that was awesome.
Okay.
We will make biryani.
I love you, Lizzie, so much, and I love you, Mary. My favorite.
Well,
But
you gave rice. The minute rice was in the ingredients, I was like, biryani.
But the tree ant friend sort of goes up to you, Elikor, and he just sort of gestures very slowly past the arch to the sort of fence that he sees. Climb on over, and you'll get to your next spot.
Thank you so much, kind friend.
Thank you, short elf friend. You have to bear in mind this being is about 12, 13 feet tall. I forgot to mention that part of it. So it's just like about you are half of their size, just bending down and just sort of pet, pet. Okay, so you are able to move forward. If no one is going to take any more time to look for any more ingredients, the dryads seem to at this point indicate that it's just like if you would like, but you may be dawdling a little bit more if you take more time here, and just they sort of in a very imagine sort of like Harry Potter Goblet of Fire Bo Batten students sort of gesture towards the arch exitway and towards the fence. It appears to be the way out of here.
Shall we go?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
Alrighty. So as you head out through this area, you see the fence. It seems as though it wraps around the whole of this northern location. Like for a moment, for any of you who look left or right, you think you see an end to the fence, and then magically the fence just keeps extending. So it looks as though the clearest way through to the next section is you'll probably have to climb this or figure out a way to go over it somehow. You're free to come up with whatever solution you would like to get over it, but it is a fence.
How tall is the fence?
It's only about 10 feet tall, so you could probably boost each other and give it. I would say if you wanted to give folks advantage, one person could help the other and give them advantage on an athletics check. Or if you wanted to try and like parkour your way over it, I would also allow an acrobatics check as well.
Servant, give us all a boost.
Who?
My unseen servant that I ritual casted.
I can give you a boost.
Definitely think Perry would like run at the fence and then try and just like climb up over top of it with her momentum and then jump.
Okay. I'm going to say give me acrobatics or athletics because that could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, it could.
I will inspire with a D8.
You might need it.
Yeah.
I will allow it because it was said right as you were about to roll it. So roll a D8 and whatever the amount is.
Okay.
Okay, so Lizzie's remember to mark off that you only have 3 bardic inspirations left. Okay, good.
So I roll or the person
I would say you would roll because it is your inspiration. Laziz just gives you the inspiration, but you are the one making use of it. So roll a d8 and see if you can get over a wall. This may be the toughest obstacle yet for all of you. Nope, it will not be hard for you at all. For a moment, you feel... Laziz, how does the inspiration go? Is it sort of magical? It is sort of just like you dancing? Or what does this inspiration sort of...
I just say, hey, friend, jump!
And as you mutter the words jump, there's almost this sort of beautiful whirl of almost like spectrum of light colors that just emerges and almost makes like imagine like a old school 90s 2D platformer sort of platform of magic just sort of appears for Perry to be able to jump. And right as Perry looks like she's about to like just fall down, the platform just gives like a sonic boink sort of jump over the wall, and Perry is over the wall. All right.
And Perry absolutely thinks she did that all on her own.
Okay, the rest of the three of you who remain, you still have to figure out what you're going to do.
I'm going to have my unseen servant give me a boost. And I say, my sous chef will give you a boost if you require friends. And I use the unseen servant to give myself a boost to kind of like climb and jump over.
Okay, so roll either athletics or acrobatics at advantage because you have an unseen servant who is helping you. Now, technically, they can't carry very much, but I'd say they do have enough strength to help at least give you a boost up. So roll at advantage, athletics, acrobatics.
Acrobatics.
Oh, yeah, you just straight up do like cartwheel over and you land like perfect like display. And I'm imagining it partially also as like you still seem to have some of your cooking utensils, even though they should have been taken away, they seem to have magically appeared. All of a sudden, once again, it's almost as though whenever you do a dramatic moment, they appear.
Or the unseen servant tosses it after me, like sort of like I put my bags down, boost over, and then those just like invisibly sort of float over.
Okie doke. So, two of the party have managed to get over. What are the rest of you going to be doing?
Well, Elacor can't be showed up by these people just hopping over the fence, so she's going to do it too.
Alrighty, so acrobatics or athletics? That is enough. Elacor, take off at a leap, and it just sort of nice spin over with because you're what is it you're wearing in terms of armor? Was it leather armor you were wearing? Correct. Right. So as I was about to say, that would be impressive with chainmail or something else. If you managed to do like a full parkour like cartwheel over it, but no, you just very cleanly managed to get over the wall.
So I'm going to look at the wall and sigh very heavily and go over to the tree fin and just kind of gently tap him on the waist, I guess.
Yes, little tiefling friend?
Would you be so kind as to give me a boost over this wall?
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm going to need you to roll me a dexterity saving throw.
Oh, no.
Because you did not specify how you wanted him to give you a boost over the wall.
I mean, that's fair.
Roll me a d4. You wouldn't mind? Take 4 points of bludgeoning damage as this very sweet and very well-intentioned tree ant spirit just helps you up. Like, it looks like he's just very casually and easily just gonna, like, boost you up. And then, like, he sort of cocks you back. And there's, like, a moment midway through cocking you back where you have the oh no realization. And just chucks you over. You successfully managed to get over the wall.
The whole time she's going over the wall, she's like, wee! Ow! Thank you!
You're welcome. And never forget, little tiefling, the devil's in the details. He just walks away. Specify next time. He just has a sort of slightly sly grin as he's walking away.
I ask.
Continue.
Oh, I asked Sue to follow after once everyone's through. Sue, my sous chef.
Okay, ducks. So I'm going to switch you all over to the next map now. As you've gotten over this fence, you have reached a point where you see vast, almost high grasses and plains looking out ahead of you. You see just this beautiful, almost shimmer as the wind is carrying over all of the grass and all of just the plains and foliage and everything that's all over these plains. The light just sort of shimmers and catches it and just reflects off, not to a point that makes you unable to see it, but it's a beautiful, bright, just expanse of grass. And I want everyone to roll me a perception check real quick. Okay, once again, Bliss with the god tier levels of perception, because wisdom-based classes are amazing for just seeing everything. I will reveal more of this map for all of you. So as you're making it past the fence, you are able to see more of this area ahead of you. And you are able to see 3 distinct creatures way ahead who also appear to be near another set of bags carrying some items. You have no idea what they are, but they appear to be, based off your own sense of judgment and logic, more cooking items. But the 3 creatures that you see, they look... Imagine if you had a cross between sort of a sheepdog kind of aesthetic with oxen. Just these huge bits of furred oxen that just the fur droops so low it almost covers over their face, with horns that look like they're about 2-3 feet long, curved and pointing outwards. There's one very big one and 2 smaller ones, and they just appear to be just often just going
Can I send my unseen servant to very gently grab the bags and bring them back?
You would be able to. However, I rolled to see how it went for the married couple and the other individual who's still back there, who is trailing behind you. The married couple made it over the fence without an issue. The other individual did not. As the other individual crashes over the wall, you're able to see the cloak fly off of them.
Oh no! Uh-oh.
And you are able to see a pair of goblins who appear... They have very much the aesthetic of looking like... of essentially like almost a raccoon kind of like faces. They still have the like traditional kind of like green skin, but they have sort of markings around their faces, so it almost looks like they have like the bandit mask sort of face of raccoons. And they just sort of like... and they just start fighting with each other. They're fighting with... They look like they're starting to get into a fist fight with each other. And the fist fight appears to have alerted the 3 oxen-like creatures. So as your servant is about to go and lean over to grab it, no one can see this, but you always know where Sue is. You're always aware of where Sue is. The oxen, you just start hearing kind of startled... What do you do?
I look to my party.
Do they look like they have noticed us yet?
Oh yeah, the goblins are not being quiet and they're fighting. Like you're hearing like a... For any of you, if you speak goblin, you could hear them just... It's a long string of what might be politely called obscenities and curses, just being said one after the other. back and forth to each other, and there's just fist fighting. And the married couple just look like they're trying to hide down in the grassland and start sneaking around, while the 3 oxen are looking in the direction of the goblins, and the goblins unfortunately landed right next to you.
Okay.
This is good.
I want to cast Speak with Animals.
Okay.
Yay!
Okay.
And
I will give you a bardic inspiration. Be like, here,
okay.
be inspired.
Okay.
And how do I add that?
If you know the general description of what it, I know the spell offhand, and for our viewers, it generally just allows you a conversational ability to speak with just animals of a certain level of intelligence and such. So we can just treat it as that. You have about 10 minutes to talk to these animals. Now, are you getting closer to them to try and talk with them, or are you just trying to talk with them where they at?
I want to start talking as I move a little bit closer. And she's like holding her hands up, trying to be non-threatening, like, hey, we're not with those guys over there who are fighting, whatnot. We just need those herbs right there. That's all we want. We don't want to bother you. Just non-threatening, no weapons out, just getting some herbs and ignoring the goblin.
And I'm going to walk behind her in case I need to pull her out of the way, in case this doesn't work.
So you all just hear. So all of the rest of you, except for Perry, are just hearing a bunch of sounds coming from the direction of the oxen, especially the big one. Perry, you hear it as, "Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure? They look kind of scary. I don't know how I feel. Are my kids going to be okay? Are you sure?"
Oh, yeah, no problem at all. I mean, if those goblins start causing some trouble, again, like I said, we're not with them. We're all on our own. It's me and these other nice people who are just looking to cook a really delicious meal.
You're not going to cook us in the meal, are you?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I'm a vegetarian.
I lost a brother to people last year.
Oh, that is very horrible.
Are you sure you don't want to eat us?
I absolutely do not want to eat you. I am 100% a vegetarian.
I don't know what that means, but I hope it means you don't eat us.
It means I don't eat meat, yes.
Am I meat? And you see, it's kind of strange seeing an oxen just lift up its hoof and try and point at itself, and then it realizes it's doing that and just starts staring at its own hoof.
And Perry is like inching closer as she's talking and just sort of tries to grab for the spices, the stuff.
I'll say, give me a sleight of hand. The DC is not going to be high because they're just you've gotten the oxen talking to the point where they seem kind of distracted by their own hoof, and the 2 little kid oxens you recognize by the way that the bigger one is talking. This seems to be the mom.
Okay.
I also gave you bardic inspiration earlier when you. I had.
Yeah.
That's true, but I'll say that's enough. You're able to very carefully and without startling them too much get near one of the bags. And get one of the bags. No? And you see right behind one of the children, the tabaxi has been leaning down into the grass, just very carefully, just doing like one of these. Just like moving ever so slowly, closely to one of the smaller oxen. And also gets another bag of ingredients as well. In your bag of ingredients, I will say you have found the following. You pull up the details on this. So you have a bag that contains the following: potatoes, onions, spinach, some lemongrass, and some milk and cheese. And a little bit of sprouts and flour as well.
Okay.
Making paneer biryani.
Yeah, Perry's going to back away and be like, have a really nice day. I told you we're not going to eat you. And then she's going to try and like scurry away really quickly.
Okay.
Can my unseen servant go after the big bag?
You were able to get a couple of. You were able to get a small a bag that actually was smaller than the one, but also has vital ingredients that it looks like there's a lot of sweet and spicy sort of chili peppers that are inside the bag as well, and it looks like cumin and garam masala and things of that sort as well. So, and I'm trying to. I'm forgetting one or two other spices that I'm like, I know what they are because I've seen them used in biryani and like other things, but I can't remember the name of them. So I'm like, oh,
Saffron.
coriander. That was one of the other ones. Yeah, you see like a little container that has it smells like coriander is also inside of it as well. So yeah, the group has gathered up a good amount of ingredients. So, and you also see, I'm going to say Bliss because of your fantastic perception roll earlier, because clerics and perception, also druids and perception. You were also able to see again on the northern side of this terrain another fence, and it's very strange as you see the plains and the sort of high grasslands that carry off all over the place. They seem to, like, every moment you look and they're like, oh, but wait, the plains, like the fence doesn't cover it. Every other second you see like a purple spark around the edge of the fence, and then it just extends even further. It basically has a sort of, if you ever played a game where like there's the clipping effect where the map is like breaking through the edges of it, and like another section of the map that shouldn't be there is starting to override the boundaries. That's kind of what's happening with the magic. It's very strange and disorienting. But you see the fence to the next area.
Oh, we have to go over another one.
Okay, Sue will help. Right, Sue?
Also, the two goblins who were fighting earlier, they are also trying to make use of the distraction you provided while talking to them. Both of them are pulling out a short bow and aiming at one of the smaller little oxen.
Oh no, I go and stop that.
Okay, I want you to roll me just a general dexterity check just to see if you're fast enough to just stop them.
Can I cutting words the attack?
They haven't fired just yet, so
Okay.
if Elcor rolls high enough to stop them, she'll be able to get in the way. But
So
if
how
the attack goes off, so just go to your dexterity and click on the dexterity on your character sheet. So let me see. Let me pull up your sheet real quick. I'm gonna pull this back down. Yeah. You have very, very high dexterity. So
Wow.
Oh,
Awesome.
wow. Yeah, you basically like Harry, as Elcor has been, you've noticed every now and then, because I think you have decent perception because druids, by nature of wisdom and such, you've felt the presence of Elcor backing you up this entire time, like just prepared to protect you. And then you see Elcor behind you as you turn around, and then you see Elcor also over by the goblins. There's like Elcor moves so fast, there's like an after image effect where you just sort of see Elcor just like holding, because I imagine even if you're average height Elcor, you're still taller
Right.
than the goblins are. So you're able to like get a hand on their bowstrings, and you're just like, they're very angry at you.
And I say, they are not food. Take what's in the bags, leave the animals alone.
Bliss is gonna yell, "Friends, not food!"
Okay. Are you doing anything else in addition to that, Bliss? Are you just like yelling that, or are you casting anything? Or are you just doing that?
Not going to cast anything yet.
Okay. Just checking. Elcor, roll me an intimidation roll. So, with a crit fail, the goblins sort of turn to you, and they both just turn to look at each other, and they just start falling over on the ground laughing. like they are not impressed with you. So technically they're both prone. You left them both prone on the ground. So maybe your intimidation worked in a way, but they don't seem scared of you. They just seem more like they're kind of laughing at you now.
Can I take some rope and tie them up while they're on the ground prone?
Sure. Roll me a sleight of hand check to see if you can get away with it without them noticing that you were trying to tie them up entirely with a bit of rope. Is anyone else going to do anything while this is happening?
No, I'm gonna...
Perry, Bliss, are either of you going to do anything?
No.
You see Elicor just over there with the two goblins now.
Bliss looks like she was about to do something and then stops like halfway, pointing her finger. Oh,
Similarly,
okay.
Similarly, Laziz is about to, never mind.
Perry, are you doing anything?
Nope. She's just gonna watch.
Elicor's got this. It's fine.
Yeah.
And the goblins? So with that sleight of hand, that was the DC to make. I didn't actually think you would succeed. So we'll have to roll with that. They're both laughing so much that you move so quickly they don't notice that you tied their hands together to each other. So now they can't actually move without moving at the same time. And they were fighting so much earlier that they just start fighting with each other even more.
And I just leave them and walk away.
Okay. That took an interesting turn.
Bliss will like throw their cloak back over them.
Okay, that was an interesting moment of goblin-related shenanigans, which every campaign in one shot should include at some point.
It's true.
But I would say even just with passive perception, you all are also able to see the married couple has a big distance ahead of you to get to the fence, and they're already trying to climb over it. That one succeeds.
Going.
That one just succeeds. So you see them both struggle a little bit as they're trying to climb over. Like they have the a little puppy at the top step of a staircase effect, where they're like the bottom half of them is like struggling to get up, and it's just wriggling for a bit, and Nola Tabaxi is basically just sort of, you can, even from this far away, her body language and her head roll seems to indicate the most giant eye roll you've ever seen. And you can see her pull out her quarterstaff and just like poke Farida up, and it almost does like a Mario, like, woohoo! Like, jump up from getting hit, and she lands over on the other side. But they're ahead of you, and you hear the wonderful tones of Mr. Thaddeus emerge. I would suggest all of our contestants dawdle and get a little bit of a handle on it. Get it going. You don't want to be late for the final area, but trust me, it'll be fantastic. Dangerous, deadly, possibly fatal, but fantastic.
Yeah, I think we should get going, and Sue can help us, can boost us. Right, Sue? And I turn to, like, an invisible space.
No one else. No one else sees this, but you see Sue. Just imagine, like, essentially the most, like, in Laziz's mind, it's like the most elegantly and distinguished little butler person, and their mind is just sort of like, yeah, got this. Just sort of like staring at you, like he's like, yep, I got you. So you can carry on to the next section and go over the fence. It's not that big of a deal. Just once again, if you're going to try and get over it, either an athletics or an acrobatics check. And I will give you advantage if you're using the unseen serpent.
Ooh.
Aziz is fine. Elicor is fine. Bliss and Perry. Yep. Through a spectacular display of cartwheels, jumps, and at some moments just like, all right. Climbing, you all managed to make it to the third section. And where you find yourselves here because we are, I'm just keeping track of the time. We are at about hour 15 into this. Alrighty, good. On track for everything. You reach the third section, which half of it appears to have almost a feeling of just the same kind of wide open, tall, grassy plains, but it seems to just slowly fade away, just start dipping down ever so slightly into a nice, beautiful, calm, flowing, like little river brook that's just carving through the middle of it. And way ahead, you can see once again another fence, but right beyond it, the bottom of a very tall, gray and snow-covered mountain, where upon a terrace, you see, all of you, just even from past perception, can see something flapping. And if all of you would give me a proper perception check, you can see, I'll tell you how much details you get from what you can see on the top of that mountain. Okay, Disease?
Oh, yeah, I had advantage. I forgot to turn it off.
It's okay. No, I'm checking each of your rolls. The one on the left for your rolls is just the standard, and the right is the additional roll for advantage, disadvantage. But yeah, I will say only actually Perry and Eldecor noticed this because you rolled high enough. It was a very high DC because it's so far away, but you're able to see, even from this distance, massive wings, feathered, in a brilliant display of what seems to be blues and dark browns, that from this distance appears to be almost like you would guess 6 feet wide. But to be very clear, this is from far away where most things are a speck. So from this distance, for it to look that wide, we're probably talking quite a big creature that is waiting up at the top of that mountain.
Is that the creature we're not supposed to fight?
It may be.
Just assuming we don't fight any of them, and that's how we get out of here alive.
I just hope we don't need to get its eggs.
Oh no.
Well, we could make it a completely vegetarian biryani. I mean, I was considering the delicious creatures back there, but I figured might take too much time.
Okay. And I would also say with the perception checks that Laziz, you did not go high enough in order to see the creature, but I'll say for Perry, Laziz, and Eldecor, you are able to see. And I'm going to move you over to the next map because this one, I don't want to say automatically is going to have combat, but very likely is going to, depending on how things go, because you see a variety of creatures a little bit off in the distance. So I am going to set all of your tokens over here. So you do not have like proper character portraits for them, but the tokens that you are able to move, that will represent the token that you are actually using. But for those of you who rolled for Laziz, Perry, and I think it was Eldecor who rolled the other one that was high enough. Yes, Eldecor. You see far off into the left side, way down near the edge of the leftmost side of this fence, you see what appears to be a 6 foot tall fish-like humanoid with 4 different arms, very muscular in build, wearing a set of a breastplate and wielding what appears to be a very long spear and very strong claws, this sort of nice bill sort of frill to the top of its head, and another fish-like creature right next to it, more with a blue and deep purple sort of color scheme to it. And it looks very angry, and they both appear to be guarding a set of bags right near them. That is what you see on the leftmost side of the fence. On the rightmost side of the fence, you see 2 more of these blue color-coded creatures. However, you also see an additional creature that is quite big. And the best description I can give is, imagine a 4-legged, combination of a crab-armed, lobster-bodied sea creature with Cthulhu-like tentacles around the mouth.
Oh, joy.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Both sets of creatures appear very angry, and both sets of creatures appear to be guarding a set of ingredients. And from what your keen eyes can distinguish at this distance, these ingredients appear to be more in the range of what appears to be cookware. Because Laziz, you as you are noticing this, your perception was just high enough to notice this. As you're noticing that some of the outlines remind you of some of your own cookware and supplies, you reach down into your bag to look at your own stuff. All of your cooking supplies are gone.
Can I find where my cookware is?
Nope. It's like, can't have you cheating.
I am going to turn myself invisible at this point, or if someone wants to go invisible with me, I can cast it at a higher level. I say, I'm going to disappear so I can grab these. Anyone want to come with?
I can make a distraction.
After waiting for exactly 30 seconds, I just cast invisibility on myself.
And
I'll help Bliss with the distraction.
Okay, doke. Whichever one of you is Laziz's token. Laziz, if you can move to the one that is your token. I know they're all the same character portrait because I forgot to tell people to try and have a distinct character image for themselves. But whichever token that you can move it. Let's say you roll stealth at advantage. I don't think it'll be too much of a problem unless you crit fail. But we'll say you're able to get right around this section of the map. If you can see where I'm indicating with the little earthquake effect happening, a ripple near this yellow spot over here. We'll say you're able to get right behind them, but roll me a stealth check at advantage just to be safe.
And stealth.
Okay,
So that's an 11.
that's an 11, and we'll say, so Elicor and Bliss, you are interested in trying to try and provide a distraction, correct?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, so move yourself however close you want to whichever set of creatures. Laziz did not tell you which set of ingredients they were going for, so you can feel free to guess which set of creatures you want to deal with.
Well, what Bliss is going to do is move here and then use thaumaturgy to make it sound like the goblins when they were fighting. Going to make that noise like right over here to kind of draw creatures away from the ingredients.
So where are you setting it?
Probably about like right here.
Okay. The two fish-like creatures immediately start moving over in that direction, and they are confused and they have no idea what's going on with it, and they seem to be entirely disregarding you. Oops, not that one. The two fish humanoids, they get near you, but they seem so distracted by the prospect of getting sweet, delicious goblin flesh that they do not seem at all interested in you. However, the big Cthulhu tentacled lobster crab thing, it still appears to be very focused on you. And it appears to, it now seems not quite happy to have had noise get near it and startle it. And it appears to be doing one of the, imagine a lobster making the get off my lawn sort of gesture with its claws. Just like one of these, like imagine like someone just gesturing up at the clouds in anger. That's what the crab is doing at all of you. It appears very
including
agitated.
me.
Well, except for Laziz. Laziz.
Okay.
Well, actually, hold on. No, Laziz, it also seems to sense you. As quiet as you were being, right as you're getting near the bag, you accidentally like knock over a rock, and it is now looking in your direction, or where it thinks your direction is.
Okay. And
What are you going to do? I'm going to say you have about 6 seconds to decide what is your next action going to be. Because if you don't do anything, that thing is just it's just gonna look like it's gonna try and take a chomp out at whatever it can and just.
is it wearing any metal?
Nope. This thing it appears to have a naturally hardy shelled carapace. It is basically, just think of a very hardy lobster, but about 10 feet, 12 feet in length and about 4 or 5 feet in width. This is a big lobster crustacean-like creature, and it appears very angry.
I would like to use prestidigitation to create a shower of sparks, like I don't know how to mark the map, but like behind it away from me. So like in the area between the two blue between the two that have already moved towards the other distraction and where this monster is.
Okay. We'll have that be, let's say, an intelligence check contested against your spell save DC to determine whether or not it should care about it and whether or not it's something that it should be alarmed by. So what's your spell save DC? What was that? The audio on your end is not coming through. Huh. I'm not hearing. Can anyone else hear Laziz?
No.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So 15.
Okay. Oh, it rolled a crit.
Oh.
Oh no.
You pissed it off even more. Like it now appears to be just pounding the ground with both of its claws, and it looked like it's gonna make an attack out at you. Are any of the rest of you doing anything?
Yes.
This thing, it looks like it is actively being aggressive in the direction of something. You don't know what, because you don't know where Laziz went. But you could probably guess Laziz is somewhere in the area, and this thing seems angry.
The direction. I want to move up closer and then cast a spell. Cast Conjure Animals.
Okay. What are you conjuring?
I want to conjure. I want to see what this says. I think I want to conjure like 2 foxes.
Okay.
And I want them to get in between the creature now, so that the creature sees the foxes.
Alrighty. Bliss, Elikor, are you doing anything in this? Because I gave you the same 6 seconds, because you're seeing this thing about to be aggressive.
Right. I'm going to move towards the creature, but I'm going to try to do it stealthily so I don't attract the attention of the other two who are distracted by the first spell.
Okay, so move yourself however much closer you want to be. And we'll say, I'll just put 2 little figures where? Premium assets, free assets, dum 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 dum. These are unfortunately not foxes. They are much more disturbing than foxes, but we will treat them as little stand-ins for tokens. But we'll say they're both... are you having them attack the creature or just sort of getting in the way?
Nope, just getting in the way, sort of like a distraction.
Okay, so as you cast this spell, you see emerging from sort of the rocky, sort of little lean left over from where the river is. So the river just sort of careens through very calmly through this, and there's a nice little, like, almost beach side portion of it of just rocks and earth. You see emerging out of it this almost mold of earth and rocks just coalesces together to form two little distinct little red orange furred foxes that just start yipping, and you just hear, for whatever reason, the two foxes just start yipping at it. You just hear from both of them, trying to distract the creature. What is your spell save DC, Barry?
15.
15. Okay, we're gonna see if we'll say wisdom. That's a 10 with the creature's wisdom of +0. So yeah, the creature appears to be focusing on the foxes right now. I would say you have about, we'll give you a round. So about 6 seconds.
Okay.
What are you all doing? Because right now you can see another edge of the fence once again. And right now, the other two marrow, they seem to be, actually, I need to roll for the other two humanoids. Nope. And yes, one of the fish humanoids is still distracted over there by the distraction that Bliss caused. One of them appears to be turning around, a little annoyed. So you have one angry fish and one angry crustacean. The angry crustacean appears to be distracted by the foxes, but what are you doing? Because you have about 6 seconds to decide what is your next course of action. Because you have a couple of different avenues. Because right now, just out of the corner of your eye, you also see the married couple attempting to deal with the other two fish creatures down the ways. And actually, I need to roll for them to see how that's going. Oh dear, it is not going well for them. Both of them appear to be getting bloodied by the spears.
Can me and my unseen servant both try to grab the bags?
I would say at this point, with the distractions been caused, even with the thing looking like it's going to get you, you are already able to get the bags. This is just now a matter of what are you doing with the bags now? Because right now, with you being invisible and holding onto them, they're not there anymore. But this thing is agitated. It's distracted by the foxes. I'm going to move away then. Okay, so what direction are you heading? Are you just generally away? Are you trying to head to the fence? What is your next course of action?
Towards the other couple, but also checking the bags as I'm going. Like, is this my stuff?
Nope.
Are they comparable to my stuff?
You see skewers for cooking fish, what appears to be a bag of citrus fruit, a kettle, a cooking pot with a handle in it, a cauldron, some knives, some very fancy cutting boards and things of that sort, and what appears to be fresh fish.
Good enough. And I'm actually heading to the fence.
Okay, so you are heading to the fence. So no one else knows that that is happening. What is everyone else doing? Because right now, from what you can tell, Perry has bought you about 6 seconds. Elicor, you've noticed behind you, one of the fish dudes is angry and coming back in this direction. What are you doing?
Bliss is going to use Sacred Flame on the crustacean.
Okay. That's what Bliss is doing. Elicor, what are you doing?
And did we see the bags disappeared?
I would say, I think all of you have a general decent enough perception that you could see the bags suddenly are gone.
I would head towards the fence.
I would too.
Okay. Now, Bliss, you can cast magic while you're making any movement. Are you trying to just stop and stay where you are to cast the spell, or are you trying to get away?
If everyone else is going to the fence, Bliss is going to follow.
Okay. We'll say... I'm going to roll for its dexterity. No, that is terrible. It rolled a 4. So you suddenly see a bright divine flame of red and just a slight, almost like cherry on top, pinkish hued flame appear right around the crustacean. It just goes, and it just starts clicking and everything. It is still angry, and it is not dead, but it is starting to run at all of you. I will say you have just enough movement if you spend the rest of your next round getting over to there that you can get to the fence.
Getting to the fence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Everyone gets to the fence. We'll say that that's enough. You get to the fence. Both the marrow and the crustacean creature are also following. At least one of them is. And now the second marrow, or humanoid, for those of you watching and who play D&D, they're marrow, but I just wanted it to be not obvious at the right away. But you have two marrow and a crustacean creature following after you. Crustacean has been hurt. The two marrow are dragging too far behind to catch up to you, and I will say all of you will be able to make whatever check you want to make to try and get past the fence. But I'm going to need, before you do that, a dexterity check from everyone to determine what the order you'll be able to make those actions in, and that will determine one other thing as well. Because I'm going to do a dexterity check for this crustacean as well.
So initiative or
not initiative? It's not officially combat yet, because all of you are choosing to run instead, and I would say you have enough of a head start. Okay.
Not great. Not great.
I'm invisible.
Please.
So we'll say for Aziz, it doesn't quite matter. But Aziz, you are hauling ass, and you are getting through without really any issue.
And I will turn visible once. Actually, no, I'll stay invisible.
Okay. So that happened. The creature. Let me double check how many attacks this thing can make. Because I'm going to say...
Do I have eyesight to do cutting words?
I would say yeah, because you also have a 60-foot range. The thing is not so far away from the fence, but Bliss, I'm going to say because
words if there's an attack.
There's going to be 2 attacks, so you'll be able to cutting words of one of them. But Bliss, because you rolled the lowest, it's going to try and go after you first because you're lagging behind the most. Because this thing it didn't roll high in its dexterity, it rolled a 12 with +0 for its modifier, but all of you rolled terribly, so it's going to try and take a clomp at you. That's a 25 to hit on the first one.
Oh dear.
That's a 25 to hit on the second one.
I will, since I would have gone for the first attack, as I see it's about to meet flesh, I'm just like, okay, I will make it not hurt as much, so the cutting words will apply to damage.
Okay.
So 2 less damage.
So that's 3, 4, 3.5. That's going to be 11 points of grappling damage. Well, that's actually going to be 2 sets of 11 points of grappling damage. So roll your D8. Okay, so that's going to be 9 points of bludgeoning damage, not grappling damage on the first one, and 11 points. So that's a total of 20 points of damage towards you, Bliss.
Bliss is going to do Hellish Rebuke in response to that.
Okay. It is also going to roll, because it has you grappled, it is also going to use its tentacles. I need you to roll a Constitution saving throw for me. Oh dear. So you suddenly feel as these tentacles start grappling all over your skin and just going all over you. Your body's nervous system just starts slowing down.
Oh,
and you feel this intense poison just spreading all over you. And unfortunately, while this poison is in effect for a minute, you're paralyzed. Now we're going to have to roll initiative. I thought y'all were going to get through without too much trouble.
That's where my crit happens.
Hold on, I'm just putting it back over. Okay. So, yeah, feel free to put in the initiative rounds that you got. I'm going to say so far, because the marrow is still far behind, it's not quite an initiative range, but it'll be about a round before it joins the battle. But the crustacean creature is going to join this fight. It is going to roll for initiative. Jesus, why am I rolling so high on this thing? Okay. So I'm going to put everyone roughly, we'll say it's about right here, because you all did manage to reach the fence. So I'm just going to scatter you just a little bit around here. But for all intents and purposes, one of the marrow creatures is about right here. So it's going to take its full movement to have to get back to you. So it's not involved in combat just yet, but this crustacean creature, whichever one of you, where's Bliss? Bliss is somewhere. You are over here. So I'm moving you up. Where is the map? Work with me, map. Okay, Bliss, you are right next to the giant crab thing as it is grappling you.
Oh boy.
It's going pincy. And I'm going to give a shout out to the chat, B1 Sonic's comment of spent all these years looking at the lobster tank, now it's time for their revenge. As this is an appropriate moment for that to come into effect. But yeah, we start this mini little combat with Disease. You're going up first. Bliss, you are currently grappled. You're going to have to roll a check in order to actually break out of that when it comes to your turn. But right now, Disease, you're up first.
Am I over the fence already? Or am I next to the fence?
I'd say you are next to the fence. You can make the decision. You can just try and hop over it, or you can take a turn trying to help out Bliss, but that's going to be...
Okay.
You have to make
I
a
didn't quite
decision
know. I didn't quite know where I was. Okay, so because I'm going to cast another concentration spell, invisibility will drop immediately. I'm going to cast... I'm going to look at the lobster straight in the eye and say, Bliss is not a chew toy. Drop her. Him. Sorry,
Okay.
I should have looked at the pronouns. She. Yes, her. Drop her.
Also, Bliss, because I almost forgot about it earlier, what's your spell save DC for Hellish Rebuke? I would say you do have that as a reaction before this whole thing kicks off.
It is 14.
Okay, this thing fails that, so either manually roll up your damage or click it to see what damage is displayed. And what was the spell you're doing? Because you're dropping invisibility for which concentration spell?
Suggestion.
Okay, so you were trying to use suggestion? Okay, so this thing is taking a total of 20 damage. No, it fails the suggestion.
So I said Bliss is not a chew toy. Drop her.
Okay. You see this thing just go... Its tentacles just sort of like frill in its face, but the claws release. And Bliss, you are no longer grappled.
Yay!
And I'm going to start climbing, trying to, I guess, unless it's not part of the move, I'm going to try to get over with all the stuff. And okay. If Sue is still active... I think Sue, technically Unseen Servant is a concentration. That might have been It is not. It is not. It's just it's active for an hour.
If you want to, I'd say you'd probably have to use a bonus action to do that. And if you're trying to climb the wall, that'll take your movement. And you'll have to roll a check to try and get over it. And you're carrying more things now, so the DC is going to be a little bit higher.
Sure.
Okay, so athletics or dexterity, whichever one. I'll say still at advantage if you're using Sue. This is happening very quickly also, bear in mind. This is like a moment of like, not a chew toy trying to scramble up the wall at the same time.
Yep. Dropper!
Just reaches it. Yeah. Just barely, you hop over there. Okay.
So that's my turn.
All right. It rolled an 18 on its initiative. So... Yeah. But Laziz, you're already over the wall, so we'll put you out of combat essentially out of this. So of the ones who are there, yeah, Bliss, you're right next to it. It's going to try and hit you. For a 26 to hit. And a 21 to hit with the follow-up. That's going to be 22 points of bludgeoning damage.
That's very dead Bliss.
Are you unconscious?
Yes.
Okay. I will say it's tentacles because it doesn't specifically list any damage. It's not going to do damage to you. But you are unconscious. It is now also Bliss, your turn.
So
roll me a d20.
Does spare the dying work on yourself? That's my question.
It is something that has to be done on your turn as conscious.
So
I need you to roll a d20.
Ooh.
Okay, that's one failed death saving throw.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh,
Okay.
Death saves. Okay.
And that's going to be your turn, Bliss. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
This biryani will be made in your memory.
Like Laziz's thoughts are not, we'll save Bliss. It will be, just make something in your memory. Elikor, you're up. You see Bliss on the ground, fallen.
Yeah, I'm going to try to run over, grab her, and toss her over the fence.
Okay. I will say if you are willing to risk it, I'll say because Bliss is basically, the thing is not even grappling it. Well, it's not even grappling Bliss. Well, actually, it would be. Roll me an athletics check contested against the creature's athletics to see if you can pull Bliss out of their grasp. Because this thing is currently grappling Bliss. It's a very unfortunate sight. It's like Bliss is like being held in a giant lobster claw. It's not the most pleasant.
Oh no!
Oh no. Yeah, and I'm sorry, the sad thing is that this thing also rolled a 3. And hold on 1 second. Just sending a quick message out. This thing also rolled a 3, but it has +4 to strength. So
Yes, of course it does.
of course, I will say because that is I'll say that's replacing one of your attacks, and as level 6, you have 2 attacks. So if you want to try it again, you won't be able to throw Bliss over, but I will say you can make another attempt to try and break the grapple.
Sure.
So another athletics check. Okay, this thing, once again, my terrible rolls came at this moment. It rolled a 5 + 4. So Bliss is thankfully pulled away from the claws of the giant lobster creature.
Hopefully Oliver.
Yeah. So you can tell Bliss is quite bloodied. You have a bonus action and you have movement. If you want to try and move, I would say I'll make you. How about this? I will make you a deal. If you would like to, if you are willing to take an attack of opportunity, I would say I will allow the bonus action to extend just enough to chuck Bliss over the fence.
Sure.
Okay. So
I can take a hit.
And of course, that's where I roll terrible.
Now,
that's an 11 to try and hit you.
I am dexterous.
Yep. I saw your armor class. It's a 19. So roll me just a general strength check. Just to see how this goes. Because you are chucking someone who's about equivalent size.
Did I mention strength is my dump stat?
Where? That's why I'm making it a strength check.
Kinsu
Yes.
basically catch on the other end. Oh, perfect! Oh.
Nice.
Okay. How much can Sue carry? This is an important question.
Okay, I do have the spell description in my character sheet, so I will quickly do that. AC 10, 1 hit point, strength of 2, and can't attack.
Nope. It's.
Nope.
I'm going to say you're going to take a d4 of bludgeoning damage, so that's a second failed death saving throw.
Sorry.
But Bliss is out of danger.
Yay.
So, Elicor, I'd say you're at the fence. You haven't gotten over, and you managed to dodge one of these massive pincers trying to get at you. Bliss is, as far as you know, safe-ish over the fence.
If we both are out of turn, I'd like to cast Healing Word.
I'll allow it. But,
Okay, yeah.
Now it is Perry's turn.
Okay, so this thing wasn't like trying to fight anybody but Bliss.
Well, Bliss was just, it's angry
in
at
the way.
all of you. I'll put it that way. It's just
Okay.
more, Bliss was the closest thing, because this thing has a reach of 10 feet with its claws.
Right.
This is a big boy.
So everyone else is at the wall right now. Or
Everyone else is at the wall. You know from traveling, Elicor could probably deal with this thing in terms of managing the damage and everything.
Right.
But you, as far as you know, you don't know that Laziz has done anything. As far as you know, Bliss has also been hurt and is fading very quickly.
I'm just gonna go toward the fence or the wall.
Okay. All right. Are you trying to climb it?
Yes.
Okay. So roll me either athletics or acrobatics. No advantage this time because the unseen servant is on the other side.
Okay.
Okay.
Acrobatics.
It's just enough. You managed to very quickly while this crustacean thing is angrily clicking its big pincers, and you're also, as you're climbing over, you're seeing a very angry Marrow getting ready to chuck a spear at one of you. You managed to climb over. So we'll say, for the people who are out of combat, you are fine. The only one who remains on this side of the wall is Elicor, and because of that, this thing is going to try and hit you. However, that's only an 18 to hit. And an 18 to hit, it doesn't hit you.
I'm very good at getting out of the way.
So it is your turn, Elicor.
Okay.
The Marrow is going to have to use its turn to try and get to you. It's going to be within range to try and start spearing you very soon.
I'm going to try to go over the wall.
Okay. Roll me athletics or acrobatics to try and get out. Oh, like a pro.
Oh, yeah.
You have a moment where you almost like you use the scimitar that you carry to like almost like gymnast vault over the wall. Like you just time it at the perfect moment to just press into the soil, leap over, and all of you still hear the angry clicking of this crustacean creature, which for those of you in chat and watching who are interested, it is a chull. It is a very angry squid lobster boy, but you can see Laziz has taken care of Bliss. Bliss is alive, very barely. And you find yourselves, as we are going to go on break, because it's going to be about 2 hours into this since we started, so I'm going to respect everyone needing sort of a break, and I need to go use the bathroom as well. We're going to end this, not end the entire thing, but we're going to go on break right now with this final note of what you hear and see before you. You see a very suddenly, what appears to be a little bit more off in the distance, mountain range very close to you. You see a terrace just a good little bits of travel away with 2 stone or very rocky paths leading up to it. You see the married couple climbing over the fence, very bruised and battered. The goblins also climbing over the other side of the fence. They look scared beyond belief. And all of you just hear from up near the terrace a very loud "Gah! Gah! Gah!" And that is where we're going to take our break.
Awesome.
Okay.
I'm not fighting this one.
Nope, definitely not fighting that one.
Ow.
So that is the point where we are going to take a little bit of a break for everything. We're gonna, for everyone who's watching, it's going to be about 10 minutes before we come back. We will let everyone know who's currently playing right now when we're all fully back in and we're live again. But we're going to cut at 10 minutes. Yeah, I think Michi, we going off, cutting off now, or how do I know when we're off? I've never done streaming.
Jess should let
Yes.
us know.
Yeah, Jess will let us know.
Okay, so we're going to be heading off now. So see you in 10 minutes, everybody. Bye.
Okay.
So that Okay, everybody. Our fantastic players have all come back. We are all rehydrated and ready to go for the last section of the Harvest Close Festival D&D 5e edition one-shot that I am running here as part of Vibrant, Visible, and Victorious. So, when last we left off, our players very narrowly managed to deal with what chat has lovingly quoted for me as the Angry Squid Boy and 2 angry fish humanoids, in addition to avoiding 2 other angry fish humanoids, one of which was a very beefy, green-scaled and color-toned green fish humanoid. So for those in chat who are interested for the creatures, one was a chull. Most of the blue-skin humanoids were marrow, and the very beefy green-skinned one was Hagen Baron. So if you're interested in creature stuff that I was using and wanted to use in your own campaigns, that's what it was. But so, last we left off, the group is at the bottom of a mountain face, 2 stony, rocky paths ahead of them. One from your initial post, from what you can see, looks to be quite thin, narrow, and not the most stable, from what you can tell, in appearance. And the other one appears to be a lot safer, but looks like it takes a bit more of a roundabout way to get to the top of the terrace, where you all, to recap, heard this quite loud sound of a cawing, almost bird-like sound emanating from near the terrace.
So do we take the easy way or the hard way? And I point at the longer route as the hard way and the shorter route as the easy way.
What time is it now? Like, how much time do we have left before we have to do that?
For all contestants who are interested in the amount of time that you have left, sundown is approaching. The time for cooking is nigh. I would like you all to hurry up and make a consideration about what you're going to be doing, because you don't have very long. And as always, this is Thaddeus, signing off.
If I love him or hate him.
Then I start going up the thin path.
Yeah.
We all follow her.
Yeah.
Okay. I would like you all to make an athletics check. No advantage or disadvantage, just an athletics. It's going to be quite a higher DC because you are taking the more difficult path.
Athletics or acrobatics?
Athletics. This is not going to be something that you can parkour your way through. This is going to be something you have to be very careful and make your way easily through.
Yeah, we all fall down.
Yeah.
Yep.
Surprisingly, the only one who does manage to make it is the already hurt cleric.
It's like using my mace as a walking staff.
Basically.
Yeah.
And let's see. Yeah, and for everyone besides Bliss, you're going to take 4 points of bludgeoning damage as you fall about 10 feet through this. You basically have a Homer Simpson-like moment of just falling down it. I'll say, Lizzie's, it's another, because it's a crit fail, you take an additional...
It wasn't a crit...
Oh, it wasn't a crit fail, or was that...
No, it was just, I accidentally rolled, accidentally rolled advantage.
In that case, you're fine. But, yeah, you have, the path that ideally would have been faster is now going to take even longer, because in a second time trying to go through the path, you are all much more careful, but it costs you some time, and I need to make a couple of rolls for this. Yeah, no, and so from the other side, because you can see the beginning of the other stone path, you also hear yells and an almost goofy-like screaming pattern of "Yeah!" You see one goblin fall down, and then a cat fall down, and then a dragonborn fall down. And near the top part of the path that you see just one goblin looking down, the more like raccoon sort of face one, the more distinctly raccoon with little circles around the eyes and everything, just look down and just have this expression of just looking down at everyone. It appears as though no one has successfully managed to deal with this rocky path to get to the top. And you are all going to arrive at about the same time.
I felt like viciously mocking him, but I think twice. Think better of it.
It may be for the best, because I'm going to reveal to you more of this map. And there is a reason why you might want to be careful about what you choose to do next, because as you all very slowly and carefully get to the top of this terrace, can you all see the map and what you see at the top of it?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So,
Boy.
Yeah.
so for our lovely Twitch viewers, what the players are seeing on their map now and what the characters are seeing in game is essentially they look up and right as their heads crest over the top of this terrace, they hear first just these very low sound of something sleeping. The something sleeping. At first, it seems to baffle you. You're like, that's got to be 20, 25, 30, 35-foot wide wingspan of a massive rock bird currently sleeping in front of a massive cache of eggs. It does not appear to have sensed any of your presences. And behind the rock appears to be another full bag that I would say, Laziz, and with all of your passive perceptions, you can see a full set of cooking equipment. What appears to be, I'd say whoever has the highest perception, you would be able to notice a fine bottle of alcohol, appears to be a nice set of whiskey, and what appears to be a pamphlet of some kind resting in the bag right near the eggs. And bear in mind, with the way this map is set up, this rock is maybe 5-10 feet away from that nest.
I'm gonna cast invisibility on myself and Bliss. at third level.
Okay. So you two are invisible. Perry, Elicor, what are you doing?
I'm gonna stealth and try to get to the bag.
I
Similarly.
am also going to try to stealth and back up Eligor.
I blend in.
Okay. Then Lizzie, if all of you are trying to stealth, Perry, your voice was a little bit low, so I couldn't hear what you were saying. Could you repeat it again?
Oh yes, I want to stealth also.
Okay, so roll stealth as well.
An advantage because I'm invisible, and I guess Bliss too.
Yes, Bliss, if you are also going to try and stealth, roll me a stealth check, and whatever the highest between the two rolls will be, it will be the one that I take. Okay. So I'm going to roll for the other two. Oh dear. Well, that changes things. Also, Midan Raza, thank you for joining us for the party. Welcome to the party. Thank you for coming on. So, here's what happens. All of you very successfully managed to get to the bag right next to the eggs. Elicor, you rolled the crit, correct?
Yes.
For all of you who are invisible, you think you're being stealthy, and you look back for a moment to see Elicor waiting over there, preparing to move. And then you see once again that strange, almost after image effect of Elicor now already by the eggs. And you are very confused as to how Elicor managed to get by you when you were trying to actively pay attention and go stealthily.
So cool.
However, the tabaxi is able to also, you see, the married couple does also make it over to there. Because I rolled for the perception on the rock as a +4 to perception, and at disadvantage it only rolled a 9. However, 3 creatures make noise. 1, Farida the Dragonborn attempts to also stealth and rolls a crit fail. And the other 2 goblins, one of them you see start beating his chest furiously and goes in what appears to be a rage, pulling out a great axe and attempting to run directly at the rock, screaming, while the other one attempts to hype up this goblin, his goblin companion, and prepare to fire an arrow at the rock's eye.
That's our distraction.
Right.
When this happens, you basically imagine every Jurassic Park trailer you've ever seen, or every very famous moment of like the T-Rex eye, like going next to the vehicle and just the eye opening. All of you who are right near it, you are behind it. I'll be clear. You did manage to successfully get behind it, but basically from where you're at, this thing is so big and its body proportional to you, you see the side of its eye open.
Listen, I are visible.
Oh, what a nice breeze.
This is what Bliss would be saying if the breeze didn't suddenly feel like a gale force wind starting to come at them.
Oh.
However, as far as you know, the only one who has managed to come under the attention of this is the Dragonborn and the 2 goblins. Also, oh my god, Castle Mac is as a note to everyone in the chat, Castle Mac is currently rating us with a party of 25. Hello there, Castle Mac. Thank you for having us.
Hey.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us at this moment of bird-filled catastrophe and goblin-incited berserker rage. As, yes, the Rock is now very angry, but does not appear to be focusing on any of you. What do you do?
Head for the
Grab the stuff and run. And if
Okay.
the tabaxi is trying to grab the things, I will cutting words them.
Laziz the Bard, the most petty of cooks.
I am so petty.
Well, she rolled a 6 to try and do a sleight of hand without noticing. So even at an average, your average has effectively made it so that she is now seen. Yes, so now she is a -1. She is now as visible as her wife is.
She accidentally grabbed the rock's leg instead of the bag. It's fine.
Actually, it's even worse than that, because I'll say the force of Laziz's words was so strong. Well, actually, wait a minute.
What did I say?
No.
Oh, my invisibility. Isn't it?
No. Laziz, what did you roll for stealth? What did you get?
I got a 22.
This thing with its new perception roll, it got a 22. Because to do cutting words is a vocal component.
I'm okay. I will be petty if it means I lose my invisibility.
Well, you don't lose the invisibility. Far worse actually happens. The Rock, which was very preoccupied with the Berserker Goblin that is currently trying to essentially what feels like hack at its feet, but it doesn't seem to be doing that much, is now just done one of these. It basically imagines suspenseful chipmunk sort of face of just like, and is now looking at all of you. What do you do?
Run.
Take it and run!
Run.
Run.
Yeah.
Okay.
Run.
You see the rocks suddenly get up, start flying, and it's about to make a dive bomb in your direction. So you're all just running down the path just to get out of there?
Yes.
Yep, with all the stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All I'm going to have you do, it's not going to be combat because something is going to interfere at this moment before combat happens because, dear God, you will not survive. I'm telling you that right now. Everyone roll me a dexterity check opposed to the rock's dexterity check.
10.
Oh, that was nice.
Oh, that was good.
I got a crit.
Nice.
Okay. I have to roll something real quick.
My pettiness will kill me.
And the rest of us.
So, Laziz, I'm going to assume an 18 and a 30 hit your armor class.
Yes.
Okay. So, that's going to be a total of 50 points of piercing and slashing damage on Laziz.
Oh yeah, I am I am unconscious.
Oh,
Are you visible?
Yes.
I guess I would be. So would Bliss because it's my spell casting.
This is true.
I'm gonna touch you and do spare the dying.
Okay. So everyone in the area sees this massive rock with giant, like, we're gonna say like 3 feet in width and size claws, its talons just rip into the well, actually, hold on, let me double check something. Yeah, no, even at disadvantage, because you would still be invisible, even if it has a rough sense of where you're at, that's still a 19 to hit you. So that's for both attacks. So you just see it just beak into Laziz, like right as Laziz is, like, I'm sure invisible, like making the petty comment. Like you just beak into the shoulder and claw into the other shoulder, and Laziz just collapse. Bliss pops back into existence. Bliss, you cast Scare the Dying. You cast Spare the Dying, not Scare the Dying. Scare the Dying is a very different thing.
We call that Turn Undead.
That's Turn Undead. That's what a cleric does. A petition to Chris Perkins to change Turn Undead to Scare the Dying. But I'm going to say what happens here is as the rock is attempting to fly up and make another dive bomb at you, you see from out of the corner of your eye an arrow fly through the air, hit the rock directly in the heart, and a mass of vines and thorns suddenly spray out. A bramble shot suddenly emerges and starts spraying and covering over all of the rock's body. And the rock, wow, even when it's like +9 to that, that's only a 15. That does not reach it. So this bramble shot emerges with a mass of vines wrapping all over it, and the rock is now restrained on the ground. And you see, I'm going to say, Elikor, you see out of the corner of your eye, appear right next to you, someone wielding this very long, what appears to be a long, almost metal tube, appear, looking down almost like a little glass scope, one of the hosts of the festival you saw earlier, take aim, fire. A very loud sound comes out of this tube, and a little musket ball fires, and beans the rock right in the head, and the rock is disoriented. It would appear you have saviors, and all of a sudden, right next to all of you, Thaddeus appears, and he's like, well, hello, everybody. Looks like you're going to need a little bit of help.
The goblin started it.
Oh, don't worry. We'll get them out later. And as you also see, the Berserker Goblin is still angry, trying to run at the rock, but it can't reach the rock because it's about 60 feet in the air, and it just drops. So now it's trying to take its advantage.
Did it fall on the goblin?
No, it fell onto one of its own eggs.
Oh no.
But Thaddeus manages to grab and hold on to all of you. And once again, in a portkey-like teleportation effect, whoosh, you are all lifted, and you end up
on all the stuff.
You still have. I'll say you collapsed unconscious, carrying all of the stuff. Your pettiness, while having killed you, still had enough strength left over to hold on to the ingredients.
Okay.
And you are teleported back to the center of town. In the middle of the festival. People, as you all sort of collapse, sort of like face forward, it's like...
Just a rain of bodies out of the sky, it's fine.
Yep. And unconsciously death grip all the things, like...
So, essentially, what happens is at that moment, Thaddeus is right next to all of you. He says, well, you seem to have lasted a little bit better than the last ones did. They tried to actually fight the thing. Didn't end up well for them. I was cleaning up guts for weeks. It gets into your clothing and all of these things. It's terrible. It ruins the look. But anyways, you'll be fine. She doesn't look like she's doing very well. Go see Miss Trickfoot. She'll take care of it in but a moment. And you are all escorted over to a little tent where you find yourself in front of a gnome, what appears to be a very squat gnome with white blonde hair, a sort of radiant glow and energy around her entire body, light olive skin, green eyes. She has a scar in an X-shaped pattern across her left eye. Her hair is tied up in a bun that, even with it trying to be managed, it has that effect of like, yeah, this works for today, and then some of it sort of pops out halfway through the day, wearing a set of light sky blue robes, and she has a holy symbol around her neck. But even with the holy symbol and that appearance, you can tell beneath all of that, she appears to be wearing a very thick set of plate armor adorned in gold and bright red rubies all across it. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. Are you okay? And she like pats down and she casts Cure Wounds at 7th level on Bliss and wakes you up. So that is about 40 points of health on average.
Wait,
You mean on
Bliss or
Lizzie?
me?
Sorry, Lizzie's was the one who was knocked out.
So 40?
Yep. So you're back up. You're back up. She's like, oh, I really wish they wouldn't put the rock in. People always think they can try and fight it. And even the people who don't think they can fight it end up dealing with it. But, hi, everybody. It looks like you made it through the competition, and you're going to get to just do the last part with cooking. And I'm going to be one of your judges.
I like you.
I
Oh,
look up, I see if I'm holding everything, and I'm like, good, we still have all the things to make biryani.
Ooh, that sounds very tasty. Does anyone else need any more healing? Are you all okay?
We're fine,
I
thanks.
think we're good, yes.
Okay.
How are you doing, Bliss?
Thank you for saving our compatriot.
You're welcome. Bliss, are you doing okay? You look like you're kind of hurt.
I'm real hurt.
Okay, here you go. She taps you on the side and she casts heal on you. So you get 70 extra hit points.
Okay.
Aziz, your mouth is always getting us into trouble.
Well, we got the stuff, right? Oh, thank you, by the way. Sorry, I should have said that first, but it seems we need to make sure we get all the things.
Bards.
Oh, I used to travel. Well, actually, not used to. Well, my husband is he's a bard as well. He got us into a lot of trouble whenever he used to be traveling. I see bards have not changed since my time out traveling.
You understand.
Unfortunately, I do. But, people are trying. They all play to their strengths, and they try and do great. And I'm sure all of you will play to your strengths when you get to go and cook. We're going to be setting up for the actual cooking part of it and the judging. And I'll be one of your judges. My name is Alana Trickfoot, and I'll see you in a little bit. Okay? So just rest up here, and we'll set up one of your stations for you to do whatever you'd like to do to prep all the food. And she just walks out, and you hear as she's walking away, there's a very loud clank, 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 clank sound as she's walking away, because as well covered and nicely as she looks, she's still wearing a full set of plate armor, so it's just like clunk, clunk, clunk all across the ground. And yeah, you have about, let's say, 5-10 minutes if you want to strategize on what you would like to prep, but you can go over all the ingredient items you got. With the bag that you managed to obtain, you have, in addition to that, a pristine-looking set of cookware, a bottle of whiskey, and a pamphlet on the most recent trends and presentations for cooking styles of the region that you're currently in. And what that means mechanically is that for the presentation round of the cooking tournament, you will have advantage on your checks for however you choose to do for the presentation elements of it.
Okay.
Okay, Lizzie, what do you need help with?
Okay, so I have this really cool idea, especially with fish. It should cook really quickly, and with cheese, we can have like a seafood biryani. And I myself, Miriam, actually knows how to cook a biryani. So I talk about how, okay, so we need to marinate the fish and all the herbs, and then we're going to layer it in such a way that the meat's right at the bottom, closest to the flame, and then we're going to cook the rice halfway through so that it finishes with the fish. So we'll need one person making sure the rice is cooked. Sorry if I'm just blabbering on, because I make biryani like twice or thrice a year, so I know this thing by heart. So I need someone to make sure the rice is aromatic and it doesn't overcook, and then we need someone else to do the fish, and then we're going to put it all together, and it should finish cooking in the time that's left. And make sure it's completely sealed so that none of the steam, so that it all finishes in the steam and the juices and everything.
Okay. Right as you finish talking and checking in with everyone, Laziz, you hear a very loud sound, and you hear the magically magnified voice of Thaddeus once again speaking, saying, "All right, contestants, and those still among the living realm, come and join us as we watch our lovely contestants who, as all of the onlookers, take some time to come here and watch you prepare your dishes. You'll have 3 rounds, 3 ways to be judged, and judged by our esteemed guests. So, contestants, join us." And you're sort of ushered off, and as you're being ushered away, essentially from the medic tent, you see a very bruised and battered goblin coming in. The one that was the berserker, it looks pretty torn up and pretty hurt, but he still looks like he's alive. And about a minute or 2 later, you see, like, Alana Trickfoot just come out of it, and she's like, "Well, he's okay. I had to revive him, but he's okay. He's okay." And as you also see the married couple also come in, quite bruised. A couple of them look like one of them looks like they have like a huge gash with a giant 2-foot talon that's scratched across their body, and the other one also looks like a beak just took a chunk out of their shoulder. But a minute with Alana Trickfoot, and they're fine. And they look like they're just holding each other, and they're like, "I'm sorry, honey, that I fought with you." And like, "I'm sorry that I fought with you, honey." They're just like holding on to each other, and they look like they're just very happy that they both made it out. And they're like, but yes, you are each taken to your own, as a group, each group is taken to their own separate tents. And in each one of them, you have Thaddeus appear in front of you, and he introduces the entire party to the following judges. He says this initially out loud to the whole crowd, but then he has you sort of meet them in person. And he says, "Now, these will be your 3 judges for this fantastic tournament. Representing the Underdark, master of fungi, grubbery, and Underdark cuisine, Ziliana Tornell." And you see this very beautiful, dark-skinned, silver-haired drow with almost a pair of eyes on each side of her head, very spider-like in its design. Deep black skin, there's like little bits of silver undertones to her skin, ringlets within her hair, long flowing black coat There's sort of trims of edges of silver and white and almost like threads that made of like almost spider silk. There's a deep magenta to midnight blue set of pants and black leather boots. And she speaks to all of you. It's like, well, I look forward to seeing what people of the surface world are able to create and see if it rivals that of the Underdark. She just sort of presents over you and then she just walks away. Perhaps a slight level of pretension, but very much a sense of just a very confident drow woman just appearing in front of you. To contrast this, immediately afterwards, Thaddeus introduces a familiar face of the gnome that you met earlier, presenting Norm Gourmand and head of the Elysium High Court Chefs Guild, our own Alana Trickfoot. So lovely to see you, dearie. My father had such a good idea to bring you to this. Much appreciated. I'm sure Gilmore will love to have you by another time. But you see the same gnome medic and cleric who came by earlier, as you now recognize a holy symbol to Sarenrae that's actually wrapped around her neck, and she seems ready and like just very happy and like very easygoing, as opposed to the prestige of the drow woman. She's just sort of like, hi everybody again, looking forward to what you make. Hope really, I'm sure it's going to be delicious, and I look forward to this every year. Good luck. She just walks over. It's like she's very, very sweet, very easygoing. And in contrast to her, you see one final individual, and traveling across dimensions, across realms, and across the 9 hells themselves, head general and officiator of the 9 hells grand feast, Isba Delgroth. And you see someone who at first seems to have a bit of trouble actually getting into the tent itself, as you see roughly around the same size that the lobster-like creature you saw, but in terms of width coming from wings, these massive leathery wings like a bat, demonic facial features, a pair of black horns, deep red skin, and slight scales sort of nature to the skin, and bright yellow eyes, heavily muscled, set of crimson robes with almost little sparks of hellfire coming off of it as she steps into the room. Well, hello. I only hope that your skills prove worth judging. Impress me, and I will give you a good score. But until then, I wish you well, and don't disappoint me. Like her wings seem to almost emphasize that last word of like disappoint, which is like a, and she just walks out. Contestants, you have 3 rounds, and each of those 3 rounds will be considered the following: prep, execution, and presentation. So what this is going to translate into mechanically is however each of you decides to be involved in the prepping of any part of the meal you decide to make using any of the ingredients you've required, you can make an argument for any sort of skill-based check. Just make sure it's clear. Just tell me, how do you want to try and use the skill? And I'll allow you to roll for it, and I'll set a DC appropriate to that. So, prep round begins. You have whatever ingredients you've gathered, whatever cookware you have available to you. Feel free. Anyone, just one at a time, not everyone speaking at once. One at a time, tell me, what would you like to try and do? And I will determine, and what check would you like to roll for it? Now, for example, if you need examples, dexterity can be used, for example, just general dexterity check can be like how dexterous and how cleanly cut you're able to go through all of the vegetables you have, for example. You might use intelligence to decide, wait a minute, those mushrooms Lizzie's got earlier are actually poisonous. We should avoid them. Things like that. So,
I would like to use insight to see if I can figure out like exactly what kind of spices would appeal to all of the judges.
Okay, that is a good one. I'll say to make it for the purposes of time and such, I'll allow up to a max of 3 types of roles. So there's 4 party members, so at least 3 of the 4 of you will be able to make a contribution to this for each round. But just so we can keep this going at a good pace, but I will allow that. That's a very good way. I would allow actually even on that either history or insight, whichever one that you would prefer on that one.
Insight.
Okay, so roll me an insight check. We'll set okay. That is fantastic.
Bliss knows.
So, from your experience, from sort of reading the sort of body language as sort of maybe borderline pretentious but very defined and royal as the drow woman likes to present herself, you caught very faintly along the edges, so sort of powdery, dusty sort of feeling that almost, I'm going to say out of character, it sort of reminds you of like powdered donuts, but you remember that there's a sort of drow delicacy that sort of ferments grubs in a certain way and then pounds them out to get all the juices out and then uses that in the process of helping distill down into a substance that creates a powder that is then used on certain under drow legumes and things of that sort. So that's one way you could appeal to her. Gnomes, they like very simple, oftentimes like they love creativity is the main thing. Not as a whole as a race, but like the sort of gnome from what you can pick from Alana sort of thing. Well, very easygoing and such. She seems like she has a good sense of what kinds of what it means to have sort of like fine taste and such. Her body language seems like, as much as she seems kind of awkward being around royalty, you get a sense she actually carries herself with a good sense of royal bearing. And you might want to try and shoot with something, if not creative, then something that at least gives the impression of prestige. And to the general, you're looking for something maybe just direct, simple, maybe a little bit more on the savory kind of side, or maybe more something like mesquitish kind of range. That's kind of, you get the sense she's a very no-nonsense kind of person and wants something very clear and direct. So that is a success on that. Who would like to roll the next one?
I can use dexterity to cut the fish and the vegetables, to prep those.
Roll me a dexterity check. Okay, that was the exact DC that I set for that roll, so you did perfectly. You take aim, and there's almost a like slight care and flourish in which you lift up sort of carrots, some of the other vegetables that you were able to pick up along the way, and just move very carefully with your hands, just cleanly making defined, well and reassuring and confident cuts across all of it. Everything and all the prep ingredients seem to be set and ready to go. So that is a second success. Who would like to make the third contribution to the prep round?
So I know we got some cookware, right? What kind of role would it be to make sure that the right cookware that we need, like for the rice and for, I guess sauteing or whatever. I actually don't know how to make biryani. I apologize, Lizzie.
Wait, could you say that one more time? You were coming in just a little bit quiet throughout some of that.
Hello. Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Is that better?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. For the cookware that we have for like setting up the correct stuff that we need, like I know we have to do some rice, and I apologize, Lizzie, I do not actually know how to make biryani, so I'm gonna say like maybe we need like a saucepan or something for the vegetables.
I would say basically sort of like a pasta pan for the prepping the rice, and then a sort of like a Dutch oven for the entire making everything together.
Okay, so like some sort of role to have all that properly set up.
I'm going to allow that to be a survival check.
Okay.
So roll me survival. This would be just to try and determine like what would be the best method to try and cook these things together in the best way possible.
Oh, that was bad.
Unfortunately, you pick something that you think might kind of work, but it ends up being too small of a pan. So some of the things are going to be kind of crowded when they're being put together. So some of the flavors might not soak throughout the entire thing as well as you would like.
Okay.
So that is going to count as technically a failure for that, but that was that round. So I'm going to roll a few checks for the other ones. Okay, that was really good. That was not very good. That's also not very good. And then for the goblins, that was okay. That was okay. That was not good. Okay, so it seems like you can. So that is going to be happening. Okay, so now it is going to be the execution round. So now this is a matter of the actual cooking steps that are going to be involved, like the actual fully marinating. How are you going to be frying the fish? Are you going to be salting it and then smoking it? How are you going to be sauteing the vegetables? So an example of a success might be the food is entirely cooked through, nothing's burnt, or a failure in this case might be it's raw or it's burnt, or the rice is just comes out like too mushy. So what are the checks that you would like to make to try and determine your success on these?
Okay, so I would like to make sure the rice is the sort of utmost. I think it's very easy to mess up the rice, so I would like to make sure the rice is cooked perfectly at like the half point, so that when it's added to the sort of casserole and then sort of cooked on steam on low heat, that the rice doesn't overcook.
Okay, so for this, I'm going to say it's going to be either some kind of strength or intelligence check, because this is a matter of knowing exactly when the right moments to making sure that the rice needs to be stopped cook. You need to stop cooking it. So whatever within those ranges you can argue for me to make, or even I would allow Constitution for knowing when you're being near any of the cookware.
Could I use my cooking utensils proficiency, perhaps, to know exactly? Okay, so what? I actually didn't put an attribute to it. So what?
You have expertise in cooking utensils?
Yes.
Okay, so whatever just roll a charisma-based skill in that case that you have expertise in. We'll count that as the roll for it. I'll say because this is a very critical process. Yep, that's good. I was about to say it's going to be a high DC because this is a very integral to it. It was an 18, but you got a 19, so we're going to call that good. The rice comes out just the perfect texture. Cooked it just the right amount of time. It's not too mushy. It's firm, but it's not too soft. It's not too hard.
Individual grains.
Each of the grains, you can taste them. They're not hard, not too soft. You're able to taste it without ruining anything. Who would like to make the next two checks? Right now, the texture of everything is perfect. 2 more checks.
I'll do insight to see the right amount of spices and mixing those.
I would allow that. I feel like that would either be insight or survival would probably be the best way to do that. I'm also going to give a shout out to the chat, to Michi in chat, mentioning Bliss does have Sacred Flame.
I have heat metal as well. I literally prepared a spell list for cooking.
I love this so much, and yeah, you managed to find the right sort of balance. Making use of the insight that Bliss has on reading all the judges' behaviors. You determine just the right perfect balance between just sort of sweet, salty, just a little bit of a savory, and even just a tiny bit using some sort of sweet chilies you're able to add into it, making just an element of spicy, just sort of a lasting note on the tongue, just an element of like right at the end of it without being too much, just going for neutral, but not neutral in the realm of like no spice whatsoever, but like plentifully spiced, but knowing how to balance it very well. And because you rolled so high, I'll even consider that a +1 over to the next roll as well, because you did so well. It's so wonderfully prepared and the texture is correct. 1 more check from someone. I'm going to say either Bliss or Perry, one of you come up with a check that you think I would prefer it on strength or intelligence to know how to best do this dish.
I was sort of thinking of a maybe dexterity check on kind of like slitting the fish and deboning it and frying it up correctly.
Yep.
Okay. I would allow that. I think that's a good argument. Make me a dexterity check just to see how carefully you were able to go through and debone it, because nothing can spoil a meal than when you discover the fish that's so been wonderfully prepared just has a ton of bones you forgot to get rid of, and it's just...
Yeah.
So just make me a dexterity check.
Wow.
Oh no!
Okay.
So what we'll say with that 6 is you do manage to get the bones and everything out successfully. However, in the process, you do kind of maim and mess up some of the actual fish presentation for the next round. So I'm going to say for the next round, anything involving the presentation is going to take a -2 penalty to the roll. Because this is less a matter of you got the bones out,
Right.
but you were
But
just
it doesn't-
very haphazard in doing it, and just it ruined some of the presentation for later. So presentation is going to take a hit from this. So now, final round. Presentation. For this one, this is very much going to be how well you can present the dish. I would even allow dexterity for how well you carefully transfer the dish from where you're at in your tents to the judge's table, or maybe even just something like perception or general intelligence to make sure you pick up on the right details for how to make it look as pristine and perfect as it needs to be. But I think it's very clear performance is very...
Yeah.
It's going to be very crucial, a performance roll, and is also as a result going to be very high as a DC.
I'm gonna say Harry, like after both of those two like really bad participation things, she's like sweating, she's like waving her shirt against her chest, like, oh my god. She like slumps down into a chair and like waves at the rest of you guys to continue with this round.
I would definitely like to do sort of a performative, sort of like almost maybe ham it up a little about how this is like a special thing that comes from my family, and it's a secret, and like really ham it up as I'm sort of dishing it out. And with the pamphlet that was there about presentation, sort of find a small little pot and sort of pour a good amount of the biryani in, and then put a sealed, sort of like almost like a sealed bread thing on top of it so that you have to crack it open like a pie.
I love that description. This is why I love playing games with cooks, and it's a cooking related thing because I get those descriptions. Roll me performance, and remember, because of the pamphlet you picked up, you have advantage on this roll. But remember, it's going to be a high DC because this is a very critical part. And these are judges who you get the impression, because of Bliss's role, I'll say that they have a very refined palate and a very wide palate as well. So you're going to have to impress them, but it's at advantage. And I think you mentioned because of a really good check last round, there's like a +1. Right, and because of the dexterity, that's going to be -2, so it's just going to be -1 to the roll. High DC, okay. But you roll it at advantage.
Oh, so that's
nice.
All right.
I set it at like a 20-25 for the DC. It doesn't even matter. Laziz, the moment you're walking it over, you have, almost taking a note from Thaddeus himself, just a level of confidence and swagger as you move over. There's even just a little bit of a like movement as you're going over. Just like so much confidence.
And as I'm putting it, and I'm like, be careful, it's hot. And there's a little puff of steam that comes out as you crack it open into it.
Okay. That is fantastic. That is one success. I'm going to need 2 more rolls.
So I'm going to do some acrobatics and like show off some martial moves as she's taking the food over to everyone.
Okay. Acrobatics roll. While it does, well, actually, no, but I said it, no, I gave the advantage to charisma related checks, not to acrobatics. So I will say it's still a failure, but there's a reason why it's a failure. While your movements and just all of the maneuvers that you attempt to do go off like perfectly, the drow sort of like removes the long cloak that she has, and you see just this beautiful, brilliantly like spider, silk, and ruby adorned set of studded leather armor, and she performs the same set of movements that you do with an almost flourish of a like whirling dervish set of twin blades at her sides. She's like, "Darling, you're going to need to do better." And just spins them and just sets them at 2 sheets at her side. So that is a failure because she is also a very skilled swordsman. One more check.
So we had some like mishaps with the cooking part.
You did. You had one mishap, which is the bones were removed, but the fish looks kind of terrible. So the plating, so charisma-based stuff is taking a deficit to the rolls.
Right.
So you have
the fish was slightly wrong, and then in the prep, the dishes were too small, so the flavors didn't quite
balance out as well as you did, but I'd say some of the other stuff balanced it out. It's a thing where like some of the good and some of the bad is balancing its stuff.
Okay. So what Bliss is going to do is, after Laziz goes through the performance and the all of that, she's going to just quietly lean in and like to each of the judges, using persuasion for this, and just kind of point out the things that she learned from the insight. Like it is savory, but it has a little bit of a sweet element to it.
Oh, that's awesome.
This is a very simple dish, but it is very refined in taste, and the texture is wonderful. This has some smokiness to it. The fish is a little rustic, but that just adds to the simplicity.
Okay.
Rustic covers. It's perfect.
Roll persuasion, and because you have the pamphlet, which would have helped with the presentation and such, and you would have known the kind of, let's say, like the way that academia filters out into sort of general conversations. You have a lot of buzzwords that get thrown around that no one knows how to actually use. They just know it because it's like it's an important word, so we should use it. You know exactly the kind
flavor.
Exactly. You know the exact kind of words to pepper in. So I'll say persuasion at advantage.
There we go.
That's just what you needed. It was a higher DC. High
five.
They hem and haw a little bit, all 3 of them. The almost demonic looking figure gives a bit of a sort of expression, with just almost a little bit of just slight almost steam and hellfire emerging from her nose. But you see right at the corner of her lips, just a very slight smile. And so, Thaddeus takes you all away. You wait for 10, 15 minutes in anticipation. There's a level of just tension in the air. And you hear...
Oh, in those 10, 15 minutes, can I have Unseen Servant clean up our cooking area?
Yeah.
I'll even cast a first level spell to do it.
Go right ahead. As you do this, it goes through. Will they go through? It goes off quite spectacularly. all cleaned, all perfect. And you get to overhear, for anyone who has a passive perception, so that would be 10 plus whatever your perception is, of at least 15, you can overhear some of the results from some of the other dishes. It seems as though Farida and Nola, the tabaxi, tried to go for a bit of a stir-fry dish. It seems like in the prep, some things went messy. The general execution of the dish was okay, and then the plating, Farida tripped and some of it fell off of the plate. So it was a lot of just tiny little mishaps. The judges seem to have a hemming and hawing of like, it's good, but okay. And then the goblins come out. The goblins, the judges are still very confused as to why there is a pair of goblins when they were expecting a dragonborn to be there. Because as far as they know, this was a dragonborn who entered alone into this competition. And they're like, okay, we'll let it be. The prep is terrible. There's oddly shaped like sizes of vegetables, and this what appears to be they succeeded in scraping some of the egg remains that splattered over them during the fight with the rock, and made an attempt at a veggie omelet. The taste from some of the judges, they're impressed because it tastes stupendous, but it looks terrible. It's messy, it's scattered all over the place. Yeah, basically, it's like sauce stains or like there's because they didn't. Some of the prep went wrong. There's like extra bit of oil that like wasn't cooked off properly, so it's almost soupy at the bottom. It looks terrible. It tastes, from what you can hear from the judges, very good, but it just, as one of our esteemed chat folks has indicated, an attempt was made. It was made. That's all I will say. And so, another 30 minutes, you just hear heavy deliberation. The crowd that suddenly built up, that at one point was maybe 30, 40 people around all of you and around this massive tent that was holding this whole event, just grown to almost 100, 150 people around the whole area. And you hear Thaddeus's voice emerge again. My wonderful Harvest Close Festival attendees, it has been a fantastic time being here. I love being amongst all of you. I love getting to sample some of the dishes because I get to sneak some of it out of here, and none of them can tell me otherwise because I'm me. But we have to close off this festival and announce our winners for this competition. Despite falling in battle, nearly being devoured by a walking shrimp and a lobster, and almost by nature of pure pettiness and sass, being devoured by our resident rock, who, poor Charlie, we really should get him more to eat every now and then. We have a winners. And the curtains that lead into all of your tents, the whole tent suddenly rises up from above the ground, so all of you are suddenly in view of everyone else. It's like, our winners. And might I say, in honor of my dear, wonderfully departed father, our glorious winners. Welcome. Our champions of the Harvest Close Festival Cooking Competition. And there's just massive cheers. The music just swells up in this dramatic sort of moment, and there's an element of cheers and praise for all of you. There's the goblins just sort of look over you, and they look like they just start sneaking off to try and go head to the judge's tent. But the married couple, they look on you sort of fondly, and they're like, let the kids have them. We've had our fill. It's just nice to get to see Enola. And they just start like hugging and keeping close to one another. And they're like, they clap and are happy for you and are just happy for all of you. And you see the sort of caps off this whole session, because we're reaching just a little bit over our time. The last image you get is a sort of wonderfully massive pot, like pouch full of gold and platinum in it for all of you to share, being held by the two individuals you saw earlier. The man of them shock of white hair, long blue and purple robes, comes up to you. Well, it's a pleasure to meet you all. My name is Percival Frederickstein Vomisokorosudrol III, and it is a pleasure to have you here at our festival. Many thanks for a delightful meal for our judges. We got to sample them, and we are quite impressed. And the woman appears. Vexalia, darlings. Pleasure to have you here. So wonderful, and so adorable. So cute. Thank you for the wonderful meals, and join us this evening for dinner in our castle. And that is where we will close the session.
Yay!
Okay.
That was great.
Yay!
So,
You.
thank you so much to Vibrant, Visible, Victorious for allowing me the opportunity to get to put on this sort of game. Once again, I want to reiterate, this one shot was not my own idea. This was very much coming from my partner, Naomi Bosch / at Adonarama over on Twitter. Check them out. They make their own amazing little tabletop, little role-playing games from different game jams. They're an amazing zine maker and artist and fantastic. And they gave me the chance to just sort of add on different things to this. And as we do all of this, I want to go around and just give everyone the chance to just, again, reintroduce themselves. Thank you so much for your time. And just want to go around, give everyone a chance to do their outros. And let's start with Bliss, our own Michisaurus.
Hi, I'm Michi at Michisaurus on Twitter. You can find me here on Welcome to the Party every first and third Tuesday, running our Eclipse Phase 2nd Edition campaign, No Single Thing Abides. You can also find me here every other Thursday playing the darkest Pokemon game you will ever see. It's a thing. And yeah, there's also going to be some one-shots coming up that I'm going to be part of, and it's great. But yeah, that's my stuff.
Perry, if you'd like to give an outro, just if any of you have links or things of that sort that you want to add to the chat right now, before I forget, add those to it. Whatever amazing projects you're working on. Perry, take over.
I'm Lily, and I'm Lease on Life on Twitter. And I don't really stream yet. I guess I will add the yet now, since I really had a good time doing this. But I am part of a Star Wars RPG podcast, The Misfits of Space. And it is a all women players, and we do adventures in the Star Wars world.
All right. Our own Elicor, or should we say Rochelle?
I'm Rochelle on Twitch. I'm Dragon Gem. Every Sunday, I stream MTG Arena. You can also find me on Twitter at The Dragon Gem. But this was really fun, and I'd like to thank you all.
And last but not least, our own very petty bardic wonder, Laziz. Hello again, Miriam.
Hi, I'm Miriam, and you can find me on Twitter at media_junkie. And I currently started a Patreon for my campaign setting, Thurzamin, which is a South Asian fantasy setting. And I'll just send that right now. And I will be running that, I think, end of April on this show. As well as next week, I will be GMing a 5e game, Orchestral Treble, which is going to be full of music puns and orc puns.
The best kind of puns is the music puns, especially the orc music puns. But and last but not least, I was your TM for this. I'm Angela. You can find me in a couple of different places. I write as a content writer for Art for Ourselves and all QT-POC focused, and run a creative publication devoted to supporting marginalized communities and QT-POC creatives. I'm on Twitter, where I share my poetry, sass, and different comments on a variety of tabletop role-playing games at Phoenix24Fem. And I also have my Patreon, where all of my main poetic poetic works and a lot of my D&D character related ideas go. Need to boost and get to work on those because I now have a cool, fun idea of making a warlock based off of entirely Hosier lyrics. So that's a thing that I've done because Hosier being a lesbian druid is a meme, and I want to indulge in that. But so that is me, and let me make sure I'm going through these. And to keep up with the wrap-up, I want to thank everyone in chat who ended up following and for this episode hosting. The raid that happened partway through our chat, thank you. I cannot recall at the moment who it was, but thank you so much for joining in on the raid. And just everyone who was being awesome and being so affirming and everything in the chat and all of the ridiculousness. And just
all the wood puns.
So much wood puns, so much amazingness. And just thank you so much for making a space for all of us here. And let me make sure. Yes, for anyone who was able to catch our show, remember, join us on Discord. We are at Welcome to the Party, and we have our own particular all POC focused server on a subserver on there as well. Support us on Patreon. Please contribute to artists, help support us going about making these kind of series more accessible to more people and more consistent and easier to do. And just also know we have amazing merch. All of those are the initial sponsors at the beginning. Thank again to Tabletop Loot, Soapno to Rare, and Devin Rue, amazing supporters. And as Miriam had already mentioned, March 31st, we are going to be having Orchestral Treble, another D&D 5e game featuring an orc band, and it will be run by Miriam. And again, we are going, as we finish off this stream, going to be rating Forgotten Dreams Gaming after this closes off. So as we finish this, I want to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you so much for an amazing game and for making my first time being sort of helping host this stream so amazing. Thank you to my amazing players.
Awesome.
Ridiculous. I love you all. Thank you so much. And I hope you all have a pleasant evening. And is it Sunday yet?
Bye.
Bye.